Well, so was he originally, and I switched it to soda.
All right, we should be. I think this is only going to. Yeah, this is. It's just going to my main Bauer Media channel.
It's not going to be on YouTube or anything.
Yeah, only on my channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we are live over there.
We be live there. Yes. But the one thing I noticed with the Riverside chat is it seemed like it was working bi-directionally, meaning we could type shit in and people, respond to people in the chat in the studio. So that was kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
Glad to see that. But clearly, all we did was switch platforms and everything video and audio wise is really sweet. And that is even in spite of the fact that we've got the usual cadre of characters here that
The usual
have
suspects.
have questionable consciousness and go
Yeah.
through machinations of trying to make sense out of that
I
which
don't have
is
a
and that which
conscience.
ain't. And if you lean up into that thing one more time, I swear to God, I will
I was
the
baiting
reach
you,
of my
wanker. I
paw
was
through my
baiting you, you
microphone
wanker. I
all
was
the way
baiting
to your
you.
ass.
I was baiting you. I was waiting for it. I was going, I'll
Yeah,
do
you did a
this.
good job. You
Yes.
got it.
Yeah, got ya. I got ya. Wanker.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
So, anyway, it's a good thing that we are technologically
Inept.
capable enough to
Yeah.
to figure out when one thing works or it doesn't work, something else might. That seems to be, in my opinion, I don't know if you guys seen this same kind of thing,
Oh yeah.
but it seems to be kind of the hallmark of the difference between people who get shit done and people who struggle to even think about shit, let alone getting it done.
Yeah.
It seems to me like there's this, and we've talked about it for months. 6 months we've been going on about this, about watching the just complete collapse of just
Everything.
complete incompetence. It's the
Yeah.
complete collapse of incompetence. There is a ginormous heaping, steaming fresh pile delivered daily. And we called it, and I think we, based on what we saw this week, can easily kind of claim it that there's no doubt that this thing is over. And the rest of it's a formality and bloviating and hype and hyperbole and wailing and gnashing of teeth. I mean, I think that there's just that's what we're seeing in a way that I don't think people really anticipated it would take the giant swings to the extreme that it has. This last 6 months is historical on so many fronts and in so many ways. And all you do is you look at it and you go, well, there's a case study on how not to do shit. why don't we why don't we have a little peek into that and see what they did and what went wrong and see if we can figure out a way to avoid that kind of shit.
That's
So
pretty
we were
nice.
talking, Jim, you were talking about the pivotal point this week was Trump and Rogan.
I mean, it went on for
Clay was chiming in with agreeing with that, right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it was nonstop.
It
And
was a conversation. It wasn't an interview.
yeah,
And I think that's
and
one of the things that you can't get through the propaganda mockingbird media.
yeah,
They that's not their model because their whole model is based on stirring up your shit, getting you all stressed out, keeping you anxiety, so that you'll buy the pharmaceuticals from the sponsors that sponsor this nonsense. So it's so obvious now. Gee, what do you think? It was the Trump Rogan thing, the big thing of the week? Did you got anything else besides that?
I think so. Besides all the independent TikTok and Instagram viewers that watched it and gave their reviews of it, and it's pretty much the same thing that we're saying. But I think the big thing is going to be less than 24 hours now at Madison Square Gardens.
Oh,
They
yes.
just released they released a list of everybody coming. It is amazing, all the people that he's going to have on stage.
I hope they have the bomb sniffers there. Of course, that thing is probably, that's
Oh,
probably.
they're going to have more than that. They've got the invisible alien probes, Jim. You and I both know that. You walk through that scanner, you know you're getting probed, whether you feel it or not. And when you get through the other side, you kind of have maybe a little short smirk or smile on your face, going, "What was that little tingle?" But
that felt nice.
So to your point, not only for tomorrow, I guess it's tomorrow, yeah, Madison Square Garden, and the Rogan interview last night. Don't forget that Trump started the week off serving fries.
Yes.
Right. The real Mac Daddy.
And
I loved the meme where it had him standing in front of the Golden Arches and he had a paint roller, and it just said Donald's.
Yep.
yeah.
Roll over. And I'm like, that's just, I don't care, even if you are vehemently, for whatever mental illness you suffer, against any concept of Trump, you have to look at that and go, no, that's some funny shit.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And like President Trump said, I have 15 more minutes. I have more experience working in McDonald's.
15 more minutes than her.
15
Yeah.
more minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
15 more minutes more than her. And it was just perfect. And the people loved it.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
And then did you see how they tried to step in and kind of herd that energy a little bit by dropping the E. coli quarter pounder news the next day?
that was intentional.
And you go, right, okay, it's so obvious now. The entire playbook has been exercised over and over for it very acutely and very dramatically over the last 5 years in particular. And everybody knows it now. Everybody sees that. It's like, remember what we were saying about your bullshit meters have been pegged in the red for years.
Yeah.
And now it's very acute, and it's not pegged, it's bouncing off of there. It's trying to get up, but it can't.
Yeah.
And
It's
you don't
bent.
have to be it's bent, right? It's actually impaled itself
Yeah.
on the
It's
on the
wrapped
end.
it around. Yeah.
But you don't have to be awake or tuned in or ascending into another dimension or having some kind of spiritual awakening or even a dark night of the soul to see that, hey, wait a minute, there's a whole lot of shit going on here. And why is that? Why is it always the same shit too, by the way? The playbook, there's no creativity, there's no management, there's no leadership, there's nothing other than, as we've said, and I think we're seeing even more evidence of this hypothesis, and that the dogs at the top, they've left the hood. They left town and they said, we're out of here. And they've left the second, third, fourth level generals, lieutenants, and whoever run on the show. And these people don't know what they're doing. They just have a playbook. They're just kind of going, oh shit, what do we do now? Well, go to the back of the book and look at that chapter that we're not supposed to read. See what's in there. See if we can dig something up and throw it out there and cause some kind of turd in the road so that people have to, steer around it and shit. Because that's all they've got left.
Yeah.
And the execution of being an owner of your ideology and your principles and your ethics and your morals and your societal benevolence that you want to bequeath on anything that has two legs, that whole thing is a complete mess. There's more division within the divisions of the shit than there are and there's no, that's what my point is, there's no leadership, there's no personality, there's no charisma, there's no identity.
I
The
mean-
only thing they've got is a mental parasite that's been a big worms, burying holes in their heads and bringing in even more parasitic bullshit. So I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I see.
I mean, did you see or watch the clips of Kumquat? I think she was at, I don't know if it was the CNN interview. I mean, she's up there in front of this lectern with the seal of the Vice President of the United States on it, yelling that. I mean, literally, she was angry. Look at her eyes. I mean, she was so pissed at President Trump. She's calling him Hitler, and he wants to kill women. He wants to. I mean, everything they're saying is just pure desperation. Because
Hey, Jim, I heard, I think it was Scott Adams coined this term. You know how we've been saying they're just throwing everything they can. There's nothing left and they're just throwing shit. So when that happens in sports and it's the end of the game, the Hail Mary is the big thing. And if they don't look like they're in a Hail Mary mode right now, I don't know what is, but he reframed it and said it's a Heil Mary. And I said, yeah, because what are they doing? They're dragging out the Hitler shit again. And it's I thought, yeah, it's a Hail Mary. I got to tell you, gents, I think that we are witnessing something that is going to be in the history books as an example. We've had the great reset, we've had the great rethink, the great everything. I prefer the great reimagining because I think that's where the fun and the magic's going to be.
Yeah.
But are these people? It is the great example.
The great idiocracy.
Exactly. It is something that I think is just going to make not only history books, but academic, scholarly, anything that has to do with explaining what happens when you do this or that. Because that's what all of it is anyway, right? It's all some idea of, well, if you put these two chemicals together, then this shit happens. If you create this kind of financial system, then this shit happens. It's just the standard way of looking at the way everything just functions, the way everything works. And you just look at it with common sense and you go, wow.
Well, nothing's working. Nothing's working.
Yeah, you folks seem to have missed a lot of classes and weren't paying attention much when education. The problem is that they were paying attention while schooling was in session, not education. And the education was, subverted. It was turned into schooling, and that's why they ended up with the crap that went into the craniums. It turned out just all of the confusion and the chaos and the consciousness. And that gets into the conversation, and then you have all this crazy shit, and you got shrapnel everywhere because people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because they're all talking about shit that they haven't even vetted. They've adopted things, and that's the big problem, I think, was what we're seeing now is a part of, this. We've had a great awakening from the result of a great awareness. A great awareness has started. And that's resulted in an awakening of, oh shit, there's more to go on. Because what happens when you're awake or when you're aware, you're looking at things and you're awakening to them. And then after that awakening, then you end up with a great reveal. Because all of a sudden, shit you didn't know is now being revealed. And you go, oh, all right, what's going on there? And then when you end up with a great reveal, you end up with a great rethink. Because you're rethinking shit that's been revealed that you are now aware of after you awakened.
Right. I think the biggest thing that's happening now is Trump is transforming the landscape of media. I mean, after this weekend, going into the election, I think after this, everybody's going to have to either go to Rogan, Elon, whoever else that's not part of the big three or the big news networks. And I think if you want to hear a Trump interview, it's going to be at those guys only, and that's where you're going to have to go for your source.
And don't forget, if I'm not mistaken, Halloween is Trump and Carlson.
That'll be another good one.
Tucker
There
and
you
Trump
go.
on Halloween. It's like, and it's going to be apparently a live event. So you talk about, Trump was a reality star that all the celebs that are and all of the lefties that are giving him shit now just fawned over, loved his ass, licked it all the time, give me money for my shit.
Yeah.
And he was a big time donor.
Yeah.
But he was always a pragmatic businessman and never got, that's why he's not, they have to go after made up shit. They have to make up shit to go after him because they can't get him on all the shit that's getting them. Things like all of the bribery and all the bullshit and the corruption and the payments and stuff, let alone all the stuff that old brother D has just made it available to all the celebrities. And you go, okay, Hollywood and that whole class, which is this elite leftist mindset of nonsense, they're all out there going, check my calendar. I think I was there once. And there's the people that are being, in my opinion, the people that are getting all the juice and putting all the energy into that ideology, their substance is literally nothing. It's so waning to the point of being empty, and any juice that you have to try to drive anybody's thoughts and concerns about the reality they inhabit just ain't got it anymore. At one point there was a lot of it and way too much of it. I know, I was part of it, especially back in the 70s when the good shit got going. But the whole Hollywood elite celebrity ideology, left, liberal, progressive, neo this, neo that, has gone way off the rails. And they got a chance to run everything for 4 years. And look, so now you don't have to make anything up. You just kind of, all right, let's look at the landscape you all left behind you.
What was it like 5 years ago compared to what does it look like today?
Right?
That's all you got to say. Just compare prices of everything. Compare, how many businesses have gone out. Literally, restaurants have gone out of business. Every day I'm reading that, this particular chain is, Denny's is cutting 140 Denny's out because they're not performing. When I was in Grants Pass, Oregon, coming back from Seattle, I was looking forward to going to the Denny's and getting something to eat. And they closed at 6. They opened at 6 a.m. No, we get there, it was after 9. That's what it was. They were open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I said, because there isn't patrons to come in and buy their food. I said, no, they can't get anybody to work. Whatever. I don't understand it. Because I've had a job doing something since I was about 10.
You are a job, Jim. I mean,
I know that. I know that. I'm very proud of it too. I mean,
so
look at this specimen of
you are a
macho-ness,
specimen,
right?
You're a specimen of,
like on a slide going to the microscope. Right?
yeah, you're a specimen of and doing. Well, we haven't heard anything from down under, the lumber down under, on this subject. What do you think, T? Do you think there's anything to the shit we're talking about? Are we seeing an obvious collapse of consciousness among the chosen?
Most definitely. I think the world's in dire straits, mate. It's in major problems.
everywhere.
It is. And I think what's happening in America is it's not just in America, it's also happening in Australia too. Companies are closing down, food chains, and they're cutting their stores and cutting hours. And people haven't got full-time jobs anymore. They do what they call like job share, where people used to do 38 hours a week, now do 20 hours a week, but they'll hire somebody else. So it looks good for people, don't have to be on Centrelink payments, government payments to live. So they get job shared basically. So two people, like, remember years ago when I was a kid, my dad could go out and work and he could support a home, a wife, and 3 kids. Today, mate, you can't even afford to have a wife stay at home anymore. So you can see why a lot of people now are hopping out of getting married. I mean, the stress on marriages these days, when you consider the financial stress of making the payments of the house, you know, I mean, you're both tired. You don't have a proper social life.
Hold on, Secretary. I thought that down there you guys said the Sheilas need to get out and get to work.
Bloody right,
did I have
they
that
should.
wrong?
Slap the snot out of them if they don't, right?
But the thing is, I'm at the end of the day, I mean, what I've actually looking at, there's a global thing happening, and they're gearing up for something big because they've got plenty of money for the military industrial complex. They've got heaps of money for that. I mean, America and even Australia, we give our old ammunitions and equipment to places like the Philippines and other third world countries to help them defend themselves. But the point is, I mean, I sent a link to you guys earlier on what each country pays towards the United Nations. I mean, Australia billed this year, just to be a member of the United Nations, over $66 million from Australia.
Well,
in America,
hold on a second. I'm gonna call bullshit. I don't think that's paying your fair share. Okay,
no, it's not. Well, hey,
you know the amount of money we spend on keeping your asses safe down there and
No,
installing all of our
no,
technology.
no.
I mean, come on now.
And you're either, you know, you're even going to be buying our submarines. We may give you some used Los Angeles class.
Yes,
but no, they're gonna. I think they have.
Orcas, they call them Orca class. Orca class.
They've tentatively agreed to build 5 Virginia class for the Aussies.
Yeah, but also too, Jim, in Australia, in Western Australia, the government just announced they're investing $7 billion into the shipbuilding industry for the Australian Navy up in Henderson, which is about 15-minute drive away from where I am. And they're talking about upgrading the naval base. Now, what I'm actually seeing on a world spec, everybody's building up. It's like they're waiting, the bubble's going to burst eventually. They're doing it for a reason. They don't do it.
So, Terry, do you think that they're building up? So you're talking about building up military and armaments and weaponry and all of that, and building up their defensive and offensive posture. Do you think that they're doing that because they all want to go use it?
Well, the thing is, unfortunately, I mean,
I look at that too, to me, I look at it and say, well, war, especially nuclear war, any kind of kinetic war is useless now. It's actually to the point where it would cause more screw ups in the entire system that everybody's connected to. Right?
It's self-annihilation. They'll destroy the planet, literally the atmosphere.
Yeah, mad mutually assured destruction, is back when Reagan was dropping that with Star Wars. But do you think that they're actually going to try to pull something off, Terry? Do you think, or do you think they're just fluffing their feathers a little bit?
Personally, I don't think there will be a nuclear war, because at the end of the day, I mean, even the cabal like to go and vacate on a nice tropical island somewhere in the summertime and drink margaritas. I mean, I don't think nobody really wants to live in a cave for the rest of their lives. And the food resources will die, will run out eventually.
So do you think that in spite of the, fluffing their feathers and fur and all that and growling and gurring here and there, Do you think that they're really going after something, or do you think it's just show?
Yeah. I believe they're going after the one world order because the threat will be so bad that United Nations. See, what is the what? Ask yourself, what is what is the United Nations doing for the society on a global sense? That originally was put in there to stop this sort of thing from happening, to defuse this stuff.
Well,
right?
you notice the entire history of United Nations, they've never done anything. There is
They
nothing.
did.
There's
did.
nothing that the body that you're talking about and the way it's supposedly organized to mediate and adjudicate disputes and stuff around the world. It's never done that. It's a pure bullshit organization
Exactly.
that needs to be completely disbanded, and other organizing collectives will form, but it will happen as a result of, in my opinion,
The UN to me seems like they just do a lot of cleanup.
Well,
they're there after the war.
Yes, right. It's just another way to bloody raise money. They're what I call a political cabal. They're corrupted. Every one of them are corrupted. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
I kind of feel that.
Go ahead, Clay.
I was just gonna say, I kind of feel like it's a build up to, and I think it feels like they're just drawing lines in the sand right now. People are, you got BRICS all coming together, and they're trying to get more countries to form them to be more powerful to go against NATO, while NATO is doing their thing. And and I think, Putin and some of these other guys are just drawing lines in sand and saying, hey, don't cross this.
Well, look what's happening in the Middle East now. I mean, that's a classic. I mean, Israel is now firing rockets at Iran, and
now
the point. But
the funny thing,
they deserve it. I mean, indirectly. I mean, they were actually providing rockets and ammunition and that through tunnel systems into Lebanon for stupid freaking terrorists to attack Israel. Now, what I'm saying, two wrongs do not make a right. I think sometimes this is where I believe the United Nations should step in, sending their peace force into Lebanon. They've got UN forces. They should go in there and become a bumper zone, right? That's what they're supposed to do.
Well, that's okay. The reason that they're supposed to do that is the charter that they originally, originally it was the League of Nations, right?
Exactly.
And the whole idea was to create some kind of global body that could adjudicate and mediate bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, are you kidding me? Governments have been corrupt. The businesses and the corporations that are buying all of the politicians are corrupt, and it was hijacked a long fucking time. It's not even hijacked. It was bought and sold. Nobody even had to go in there and screw with it. They just came in and bought it. So what we're seeing, I think, is the final collapse of that original model. It can't, and Jimmy Church and I were talking about this. Mm-hmm. The current system can't handle the load that it's been given. It's in overload, right?
Mother load.
Which is it's getting the mothers of loads.
The UN couldn't go in anywhere that the US or Israel or whoever hasn't cleaned out first.
Yeah, exactly.
They wouldn't survive. All those terrorists would just murder them and kill them. They wouldn't know how to handle it.
And that's happened many times where they've gone and tried to be participating in whatever kinetic exchange is going on. And they get their asses handed to them.
I mean, but then again, if you want to call yourself United Nations, have your own UN forces, that's what they're there to do. I mean, that's why America's got the US Army, to defend America. But somebody's got to go in.
I just watched a documentary about the whole Israel conflict and all of that. And I noticed one thing, that Israel is always at war at least once every 10 years. Starting from the 40s, they went to war in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Now, I didn't watch anything from 2000 to now, but I'm sure uh, seems to go in line. They probably were at war with one of them same countries that they're in war with now in the 2000s and the 2010s as well.
But, you
Well,
know,
I
Clay,
mean,
sorry, guys, look, back in the 70s, when we got Yasser Arafat, he was the Palestinian leader. They all went to United Nations, and Israel turned around and said, "Oh, was it late 80s, I think, something like that." You know, I don't know exactly, but they made an agreement at the United Nations that the Israeli troops will move out the Gaza Strips, but instead, by a certain date. But instead, the Israelis keep building settlements instead and putting up roadblocks. So the only people from Lebanon were allowed to go in were workers to build the new settlements. But
Terry,
they
I
never.
think I think you're in the weeds of a symptom of a bigger problem.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, everybody's
And
kind of
yeah, well, I'm just saying. I
false
mean,
promises, you know.
you can go in and find victims and perpetrators in all kinds of
Mhm.
scenarios of whatever. But the bigger issue is the conflict of these people have between one another, which is why there is conflict.
It's been
They
going on
can't get
thousands of
along.
years.
Yeah, well, yeah, they can't get along. They've never gotten along. And will they
Thousands
ever
of
get
years.
along? I think that there's a good possibility that that could be corrected, but it's quite doubtful. And the only thing that I think will actually facilitate that kind of change is, and I'm going to make kind of a prediction here, toss this little nugget on the table,
Mhm.
see what you guys think. I think that what we're going to see in the next week from Tuesday, is going to be a statement of directional change that will be so obvious and so intense that it will be undeniable. It will be what I was calling too obvious to obfuscate. You, it will be you can't beat the cheat, right? Or it will beat the cheat. The idea that there's anything other than a full-blown energy shift that's already happened. What we're getting basically, this election process is not an election, it's a selection. It's a selection of a community and a collective energetic shift that has clearly said, yeah, most of the people, this is making a lot more sense over here, so we're going to go over here and do this. And that will be the catalyst and create the crack in the chasm for an entirely new path to open. And it will not be just the US, it will be global. And what will happen in our selection will ripple across the planet, and a whole bunch of dominoes and different tumblers and locks and shit are going to go off, which are going to herald in what should have happened 4 or 5 years ago. The Soaring 20s will commence. We had to have a little delay to expose the bullshit and say, hey, everybody, we got to get rid of this or fix it at least in order for everything to work properly. We've now had all the data we need over the last several years of just shitty ideas, shitty execution, and absolutely shitty results. So I think that this is more seismic, I think, than people may be seeing it as. So what do you guys think? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, from a historic point of view, I wanted to be a history teacher. I wanted to teach U.S. history. I loved it growing up. It was fascinating. And in the California school system in Silicon Valley, I went to a squareless school. No one knew what a squareless meant. It meant school. So I went to a squareless school, and I changed it to Mariana Castro. But we started talking about coming to America, the original Pilgrims or Christopher Columbus coming in. Whatever we started at the beginning, even with Leif Erikson coming, or America's Vespucius, is that right? He was
America's Vespucci. What?
America's
no, he was
Vespucci.
I think he was a Viking that that America's sort of named after.
Yeah, it was there was a whole bunch of weird shit going over there in Europe at that time. These people were screwing each other, they were shagging each other, they were interbreeding shit, and I mean, there was a whole lot of hooey
Trust you
going
to take notice of that, Robert.
Well, I just read the history, and that's what I saw, the whole bunch of that going down.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Must have.
so this from someone who really loves history,
Hmm.
not people's opinions, but the actual, because I was a wing historian for the Minnesota Air Guard and its state staff for 16 years of my 21 years with them. And
So that explains why you always wing it?
pretty much,
Never mind.
yeah, I'll dump a
Had
load
to
on
try
you
it.
next time I fly over your house.
You left it there, I stepped on it.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. No, this is either the beginning of a new era of America, or it is the end of America. There's no, well, maybe sort of whatever. No, if the deep state manages to steal the election like they did in 2020, and they probably stole the elections in 22, and apparently we have all the information. So eventually someone has to hang. And I hope, I hope like the Dickens that they build the gallows in front of the US Capitol and have it pay per view.
That's the
can reach-
unfortunate part is most government employees are immune to stuff like that. So, a lot of them have that, what do they call it? I don't remember the words, but police have the same thing. Like if they accidentally, if they shoot somebody in the line of fire, even if it was,
oh shit, excuse me, I didn't mean to put a bullet in the back of your head. Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
we thought you were running from us, and
Yeah.
police get away with that, and so do government officials. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
they'll retire somebody, but they'd never send them to prison.
Yeah. I think that needs to change.
Agreed.
And there has to be,
They call it misadventure.
yeah, but
Yeah,
they have
qualified immunity. Thanks, Blue. Yeah,
Yeah.
qualified immunity.
yeah, but they have to start considering that treason, all that shit goes right out the window. You don't have any type of immunity. I love this country so much. I mean, I'd say I volunteered to, if I need to die for it here, over the course of 27 years. So I'm very proud of the time I spent. My best friend in the whole wide world is somebody who was my first roommate in 1962 when I came to Denver at Lowry Air Force Base. And I talked to him 2 days ago, and I talked to him at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm very proud of being a veteran, and I'm very proud of being a retired master sergeant. I had an opportunity to go to the Air Force Academy, but I turned it down because I knew that, like my TI told me in basic training, good all you have, everything going for you but your mouth. And it's that curse has followed me through my entire life. Literally, it has. I have stepped in my dick so many times by saying something that was truthful. But you wouldn't say that to that, would you? That person, would you?
I relate to what you're saying there, Jim. I relate to you, mate, 100%.
Yeah. So, but from a historical point of view, if we survive to the end of 2025, this will be the most changing of the American dream to nirvana, or the American dream, which is a nightmare. And I think the transition is going to be swift, and it's going to be ugly for whatever side is on the losing side. And I hope to God, and I believe God directed people towards this once incredible country. And I don't think he would, if God is who everybody that I know that's religious believes, then I can't see him watching this land of milk and honey turn into a rotting carcass.
Well,
You
you
know,
got to
what-
remember, and I completely
I
agree.
do remember. That's
Well,
why
I was, you got to remember that there's been multiple iterations of the civilizations that have gone through this advancements and then declines and collapse, and this is probably, I don't know. I think the Atlantean civilization, or several iterations of it, we're all definitely all over the planet. But I don't think there's ever been this many carbon-based units screwing around with shit on the planet before. So this transformation is going to be extremely messy. There's going to be a lot of, shrapnel and, the casualties of carbon units that are just not going to survive this, because a lot of it will have to do with their own self-imposed bullshit, because they believe so much that it's not true. The epidemic, and that's why I keep going on about the knowledge apocalypse. We're starting to realize things and see things that for a long time were relegated to the tinfoil hat rack. And, you pull out your favorite foil for whatever the subject is and get that beanie on and go do it. Well, I mean, now it's at the point where that's where all the, not only the cuckoo and the woo-woo and the whatever is, but it's also apparently where a lot of the fucking truth is. And people are finally realizing it. They're finally going,
well,
I've been lied to. I've been sold. The turd that you dropped on me for what I paid for was not only not worth it, but it was wrong. And it was wrong for all the wrong reasons, because you're looking in the wrong place for the wrong thing, and you gave me shit and I bought it. Shame on me. But I don't want that shit anymore. I need to move on.
because we have the new media. We're part.
Well, the people
we're
that
part
were
of it.
the people
part
that
of-
called them conspiracy theorists in the beginning are now kind of agreeing with us, which is
Right.
funny too.
Right? Well, that brings up the share that I have that I'd like to, where am I here? Do I get some of that? And I get some of this? Yes, indeed. Guys, give me a 5 by if you see that.
Yep, all good.
All good? Where am I here? I got 2 different screens. Awesome. Zoom
Yeah.
does this much nicer than the other stuff. It gives you a whole nother window that you can play with. I kind of like that. All right, so this is this is a mind map, and these are some stuff that I wanted to share tonight. And to the point about just the whole idea of all the crap that's clogged the consciousness, all the chaos and all of that. Have you heard of the movie Am I Racist?
Yes.
By Matt Walsh and the guys over at what is it, Daily Wire. I wanted to play this trailer and get y'all's thoughts on it.
From the white guys who brought you What Is a Woman?
I got that one too.
Let's be clear what's happening in this country. It's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race. Sure, you noticed, but never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man, it's the top of the pile.
I'm on the top of the pile. That's me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
What is racism?
Martin Luther King said not to judge people by
Martin Luther King said a lot of stuff.
Is America inherently racist?
What the hell is that?
The word inherent is challenging there. America is racist to its bones. All of the...
So inherently.
Yeah.
The entire system has to burn. And I'm not going to even use save this country. This country is not worth saving. This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
They gonna say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. Where are you guys on your anti-racist journeys? So I'll look around the room and point to who we believe is the most racist person in the room. We want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. Would you mind signing it? You will? What do you think about this issue of heteronormativity and how it intersects with the broader structures of racism in society?
They gonna say I'm racist.
What's up with white people? What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that?
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you. White
Folks,
White.
trash, white supremacy, white woman, white boy,
White.
entitlement,
White.
centering,
White.
silence.
Is there a black person around here?
So there's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
They gonna say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi. And what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Matt. Hi, Matt.
Nice to meet you.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist, but they call everybody racist.
That was great.
So what do you think of that? The whole idea of, you know,
We're-
what do you think?
Us
What do you
white
think's going on
guys-
there with people? What's wrong with them?
Us white guys are the most evil people on the whole planet, according to all the radicals. I mean, we're on the order of human beings that are important. You have the LBGQ, QRSTUV ones up there near the top, or trans maybe a little bit above that, maybe. And then as you break it all down, order of straight white males that are conservative are at the absolute bottom of the pile. And hopefully
Well,
that changes some one of these days.
I lit off with Jimmy, and I just said, I'm just going to say it. I've had enough. All this shit about being an old white guy and all the problems I'm responsible for and all the bullshit that I caused and all this other crap. And Jimmy jumps in, he goes, and you can't complain. You can't say anything. I said, right?
Why not?
Right? So here's the, this is the What is a Woman trailer by the same gents. And if you haven't seen this, I know you will enjoy it.
What is a woman? Can you tell me that? Well, you're at the Women's March. You must have some idea. Please, if one person could tell me what a woman is.
You are not here for women. We ask you to leave.
What is that? I'm a husband. I'm a father of 4. I host a talk show. I give speeches. I write books. I like to make sense of things. A woman is not anything in particular.
There is not one particular thing.
It could be many things to many people.
Some women have penises, right? Some men have vaginas.
I like scented candles, and I've watched Sex and the City.
Yeah.
How do I know if I'm a woman?
That's a great question.
You're not a scientist. You're not a gender studies major.
No,
How do you know that you're a man?
I guess because I got a dick.
Can a man become a woman?
I'm not a woman, so I can't really answer that.
Women only know what women are.
Are you a cat?
No.
Can you tell me what a cat is? You want to tell us what a woman is?
I'm a biological woman that medically transitioned to appear like a male. I will never be a man.
And so they go on the internet and they're told that all of their problems will be solved if they become a man.
So you worry that there could be a sort of social contagion element of this?
A teeny tiny bit, maybe.
It got me at 42. Your child doesn't have a chance.
You're affirming it with hormones that have never been used in this way.
Puberty blockers, which are completely reversible.
Completely reversible.
One of the drugs used is Lupron, right? Which has actually been used to chemically castrate sex offenders.
You know what? I'm not sure that we should continue with this interview.
So you don't want to talk about the drugs that you give to kids, or?
How can they be removing the healthy breasts of 15-year-old girls?
There are masculine girls. There are feminine boys. What are we going to do about that? Carve them up?
How can this whole thing be happening, Matt?
I wanted us to have a safe place to be able to talk about this.
Part of me wants to ask why you care so much.
I care about the truth. I care about children. I care about the women who are having their opportunities stolen from them.
Is it transphobic to tell the truth?
The interview's over. Let's turn off the cameras.
Excuse me,
Well, they're fair. I just wanted to know, what is a woman?
and you're not going to find out.
Based on what I'm saying, would you ever want to move to America?
They say no, never.
I hope you enjoyed it a little bit.
We'll see when it comes out.
I'm pretty sure she didn't like it. He didn't like it.
God. Oh, God. Oh, please.
So, what did you think of that, gentlemen?
Sick.
I mean, yeah, you can just thank public education.
Well, look, if people want, if a man wants to call himself a woman, fine, that's great. Go and get your dick cut off.
Lose.
If a woman wants to call herself a man, well, go and get it stitched up and have a piece of loose meat hanging off it. I mean,
More than a woman.
They said,
go ahead, you do what you want to do with your body, but you know. But let's put it this way: if my daughter walked into a public or shower room at school, and this boy walked in up saying he's a bloody girl, yeah, I mean, I'll be.
He would
I'll
need
be
some
mortified.
medical attention, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, it's you know,
Yeah, sorry.
you know, on the first one we were looking
Not
at.
sorry.
On the first one we're looking at, we're like racism. You know, when I was living in the UK, I mean, I speak the same language.
No,
I'm
you
white.
don't. No, you
Oh,
don't.
kind of. You know, I speak
Not
English,
even
but
fucking
the thing
close.
is, Jim, the thing is, I remember a job interview I went for before I went in the army, right? And I went for a job interview, and this actually person that interviewed me turned around and says, "Oh, look, we've got more of our own people out of work than putting you in, giving you a job. You know what I mean? You're an Australian. We've got a lot of English people out of work." And you know, stupid things like that. And then on the other hand, too, somebody will say, "Where you from? London?" I said, "No, from Australia." And then the tone of their voice changed. They went, "Oh, a colonial." Yeah, I mean, how insulting.
That's just a bunch of conditioning. And speaking of conditioning, do you guys still see the screen all right? Am I still sharing? Okay.
Yep.
So
I really like that. I really like your mind maps, I must say.
Good one.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, anybody see the comet?
No,
I
but
thought
I have some friends who have.
I shot it, and I was surprised it showed up on my cell phone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't have time to wait around for another 84,000 years. for it to
Well,
come
Blue
up.
Unicorn says that dick got me pregnant.
This holster has a retail value of $80.
Hold on there. So this is one of our regular shares, Mr. Mark Dice, on the whole October surprise thingy, kind of what we were talking about a little bit a minute ago.
You're going to get it 100% for free as our way of saying thank you for trusting us with this incredible system and for trusting us with your ability to be a great shot.
Oh,
here's how this works.
Damn ad here.
The Democrats dropped their big October surprise, their ridiculous and beyond absurd fake news early this election year because so many states have early voting and mail-in ballots are the norm, and tens of millions of Americans have already voted. So ordinarily, they would have waited until just a few days before the election to saturate the news cycle with their breaking news, which is just the same old recycled story from the last 8 years of them claiming that Donald Trump loves Hitler. And well, many of them in the media know that this is just a complete lie and that they're catering to some of the dumbest people in the country, hoping to scare them into voting for Kamala or scare them away from voting for Donald Trump. Some in the media, others, actually are that dumb and drank the Democrats' own Kool-Aid, like Mika Brzezinski, who believes it.
As important as Trump's fascism is, and is the lead story every day, his cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out, what he has said about our veterans, and what he wants to do with the military against his political adversaries.
All fake, 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 fake.
It's all huge news. This is the future that we're looking at in the next Trump term, if there is one. But this is what voters know right now.
We've heard this same story for the last 8 years, and we don't believe it. We don't care. Sadly, even Bill Maher, who is a broken clock, he's right every once in a while, but he appears to have stage 4 Trump derangement syndrome as well. Either that or he is a fantastic actor, but I doubt it.
We've had 4 years of Trump.
Yeah.
Trump did not go after
So
his
what?
political enemies with the Department of Justice.
Right.
That was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Well, we had Hitler in the 30s and things were okay, and then we had Hitler in the 40s and they got way worse.
Oh, I
just
see.
because we had him.
He hid his Hitlerism the first 4 years, and is going to come out in full force.
He tried to do things like that. He tried to do dictatorial
Biden
fascist things,
actually did.
and he was stopped.
Joe Biden has flouted the law when it comes to these student loan giveaway programs. He's flouted the law. Supreme Court opinions that told him he didn't have the right to do it, and he openly said, "I will get around the Supreme Court." He did it.
He allowed our country to be invaded, etc., etc.
And then he and Kamala Harris unleashed this Department of Justice against their political enemy, Donald Trump, their #1 chief rival for the presidency.
After they encouraged and allowed millions upon millions of criminal invaders, including many convicted murderers from third world countries, to invade us. This is literally all we're going to hear for the next week and a half. And then, well, if he wins, for the next 4 years after that.
As president, Trump praised Hitler. Take a moment to think about what that means.
That means the Democrats are so desperate and pathetic. They don't have any policies,
Does she, when she talks, does she remind you of an ex-relationship?
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
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 I mean, is it just me, or is it, I've heard that tone, I've seen that face, and I've heard those words before. And I'm just, it's just like there's a natural repulsion to the whole thing. I don't know. I'm finding that, and I've got another piece here, which, what was her big point there that she said about
Top of
the
her
fascism, right?
Oh, that one.
Right? And that's what they're all talking about is fascism.
I think I've seen this one before. This is good.
So I we're all gazers. We remember the Z.
This is how to get in shape fast.
This is your ads. I don't know.
These balloons represent your internal.
Well, I said I agree with Mr. Zappa that the first line of defense and responsibility is the parents. But what I do not agree with is that the parents have to stand alone, and we are not entitled to call upon our government to help us in the fight against this kind of filth.
What government censor is going to decide for you?
Brilliant.
Tom, I've heard you say repeatedly on this show that we are our government, that we're allowed to call on our government.
Well, you have to have a man who is the censor or a woman. They have to decide this Lofton can hear and this Lofton cannot hear.
Tom, it would work the way the implementation of any law works. You pass a law, it has words in it, and then the elected representatives of the people try their best to apply it. It's the way you do it with everything else. Will they apply it perfectly? No. But we're entitled to use the force of our civil government to help protect our families. How could you oppose that? Does the government have any purpose, Frank?
Yeah, it has a number of purposes.
What is it?
I'm not going to give you a civics lesson here, but I'll tell you one thing. We must not see eye to eye on the idea of a government that must forbid things in order to protect
Really? What is the government's role? You've told me several times what it shouldn't do.
How about national defense?
Yeah, I consider this national defense, pal. Our families are under attack from people like you with these lyrics.
John, you don't have to buy them.
Mr. Zappa, could I make a statement about national defense?
Yeah.
The biggest threat to America today is not communism. It's moving America toward a fascist theocracy. And everything that's happened during the Reagan administration is steering us right down that pipe.
Oh, Mr. Zappa, do you really think? I mean, all kidding aside, in this country, with the permissiveness that we are moving toward a fascist theocracy, anything goes.
We are, but
do you think things like this would have ever been permitted?
Smile again.
When we were 20, when we were kids, you're about my age, maybe
I'm
a little
45.
younger. Well, I'm 55. Do you think when I was a kid that they would permit songs like that to be sold? I mean, permissiveness is the game. I mean, you're not really serious if you're saying we're going toward a fascist theocracy.
That's right, we are.
Wait a minute.
In what way? Give me one example.
Wait. One example of a fascist theocracy.
When you have a government that prefers a certain moral code derived from a certain religion, and that moral code turns into legislation to suit one certain religious point of view, and if that code happens to be very, very right-wing, almost toward Attila the Hun...
Well, then you are an anarchist. Every form of civil government is based on some kind of morality, Frank.
Morality in terms of behavior, not in terms of theology.
Well, of course, but look, I mean, I couldn't believe in your hearing.
Okay, wait a minute, gentlemen. We have to take a break now, and we'll be back with John Lofton and Frank Zappa talking about rock music, I think, after these messages.
Excellent guitarist.
I love you.
So I think Frank, he called it and said, and the ideology of the government being involved from a theological bent and putting in regulations and legislation based on theology is not right. That's the separation of the church and state. Right? And he was going on about in that time when Reagan and a lot of the Christian right was, more of the norm. Isn't that where, I was thinking of Newt Gingrich. Was that the Contract with America in the Clinton years? And that was also kind of a Christian right organized kind of thing, right?
We're
Billy Graham
Christian
period,
country. We're a country founded primarily by Christians.
Well, actually, we're founded by Masons, who had a Christian bent, but our whole thing is Masonic.
Wasn't Billy Graham a president advisor?
Who? Billy Graham? Oh yeah, I think he did a lot of them.
He actually advised the president of the United States when I think which one? I'm not sure which one it was. Might have been Reagan.
Might have been Reagan, yeah.
So now this, we've talked about remote viewing, non-local consciousness, one of my favorite subjects that we like to delve into. And remember, the RV guys have been calling, their track record is just doing quite nice, thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right? These are the guys that did Bob Lazar and a whole bunch of stuff. Well, what's really bizarre is what you're about to see now, because not only did Dick and the team at Future Forecasters call what we just saw last night, 3-4 years ago, he'll clarify it in the video, but the predictive linguistics, the web bots of Cliff High, also called it. And we're going to see how that turned out here.
The real story behind Joe Rogan interviewing Donald Trump. Hi there, crypto fans. Hi there, remote viewing fans. Dick Allgaier here. It's another beautiful day in Hawaii. This is a fascinating story, and this shows us that interesting times are afoot. The plot thickens. We're about to careen off into a whole new civilization, a whole new shared reality, and what we demonstrated here is indicative of that. You need to know who Cliff High is. This is Cliff High. He is a genius, an eccentric genius, a former computer programmer, a scholar, a student of history, a student of linguistics, a Renaissance man, so to speak. Cliff High discovered long ago that humanity has a shared group consciousness, and that consciousness is able to predict the future. That all of us, all the time, are communicating things about the future that bubble up in our subconscious awareness. And what he discovered was that when people communicate, unknowingly, they're talking about the future. So people could be online in a Martin Guitar Appreciation Forum, a Petunia Gardening Forum, Mustang Car Owners Club, a political forum, and without knowing it, the language that they use has clues about future events. And Cliff High wrote a computer program that goes, WebBots, that go scour the internet, collect all this data, and he runs it through, crunches it through his program, and he's able to successfully show how future events bubble up into human consciousness. The best one he ever did that I saw was his prediction of the 2008 financial crisis, the stock market collapse, and he had it to the very week. I mean, it was a really precise and accurate prediction. He's had many, many more. So he had data some years ago that there would be what he calls a temporal marker. There would be an event that would, he knew that when this happened, it would kick off what he calls sci-fi world. It would be one of the springboards for the new civilization that's rapidly approaching. And what he saw was something involving an interview with Joe Rogan, and he determined that it was probably going to be Donald Trump. And so he was waiting to see that. And that was tasked out to our remote viewers under double-blind protocol. So we're working, this was 4 years ago. It was the spring or early summer of 2020. We were given a blind tasking. And what they give us is just a random set of letters and numbers that's generated by a randomizer program. So in this case, they give us A1, X4-M5Y1. We don't know it's for Cliff High. We have no idea it involves a possible interview with Joe Rogan. We don't know anything about it. It could be something in the past, something in the future, present time, political, scientific, financial, anything. It could be anything, and we go about it completely blind. So I'm working this target, A1, X4, M5Y1. What do I get? Something very specific. I saw Joe Rogan interviewing Donald Trump, and I recognized them, and I said, man, they're going to have this discussion. It's going to be his podcast, and they're going to talk about everything from UFOs to politics. It will be risque. It will be one of the most viewed podcasts of all time. It will be historic. And so that was July of 2020. We're in the midst of the 2020 election. Wow. Joe Rogan never interviewed Donald Trump in that year. As a matter of fact, he said, I'm not going to interview that guy. He's a son of a bitch. And I'm not going to give him time. No, he's not coming on. So it didn't happen, but it was speculated that it would. And some of us thought, was that the feedback? Was it just them talking about it? Does that fulfill the prediction? And I was going, no, I saw him doing the interview, and Cliff High said, no, I saw him, my data says there will actually be an interview, but it didn't happen. So we thought, election comes, Trump doesn't win, he goes to Mar-a-Lago, he's out of the scene, and life goes on. So was that a miss? Well, here we are in 2024, and suddenly out of nowhere, Trump goes on the Joe Rogan podcast. And Cliff High talks about how all of our individual consciousnesses, those of us in remote viewing in his predictive world, and even Joe Rogan, how we cooperated within consciousness.
And in 2020, we're both thinking, because of what Dick Allgaier had gotten, that was going to be the case, that we're going to have a two-person interview, face-to-face, a lot of two shots, that sort of thing, and fantastic discussion.
And Joe Rogan even mentioned it unknowingly in the interview where they were talking about how Donald Trump came on, and Rogan said, well, it's about the timing.
Once they shot you, I was like, he's got to come in here. It's all about timing. It's all about the timing. I think our timing's perfect.
Yes, it is all about the timing. So what is my take on this? Okay, first of all, it's my knowledge and my experience that consciousness is a dimension. What is time? Time is consciousness observing. So in order to have linear time, you have to have a consciousness that is in a seemingly linear reality, which is us inhabiting these bodies in this apparent 3D physical world where time, our observation of time is linear. But when you're in a consciousness outside of this physical reality, and we all have a collective subconscious awareness that is in this dimension of consciousness, Cliff knows that and we know that as remote viewers, that's where time becomes a little bit more fluid. It becomes nonlinear, so we're able to do things like this. And Cliff High mentioned that in a recent Substack.
Now, local consciousness, we know because this is visible, because there are people like Dick Allgaier and myself and others who are looking at time in a different way now that this event is manifesting, and we know the history of the remote viewing of it in detail because we participated, because we lived through these years and did this shit. And we're looking at things in a different way. Universe, so we know, us guys anyway, we know universe wants us to know this. It would not manifest unless there was a point to it.
So the remote viewing was correct. It was just 4 years early. Cliff High's prediction of that event was correct from his web bots, but what it points to is what he calls sci-fi world, an inflection point, a pivot point of humanity, and we're at that. If you're paying any attention at all, you know that we're about to careen off humanity is into a whole new dimension, and we've been talking about it at futureforecastinggroup.com for quite some time, the transition to a new financial system, and by financial system we mean the accounting system of humanity, the accounting of how the souls and physical beings on this earth are accounted for, and how the financial system manages all of that. Futureforecastinggroup.com. Join today. You'll see more interesting stuff like this. We're doing remote viewing every week. We've got some wonderful new projects coming out, and that's the real story. It was Cliff High asked us to do this. We did it double blind. We saw Trump being interviewed by Rogan. It did finally happen, and it seems that we are at that inflection point, that pivot point of humanity. It's an amazing time to be alive. We're going to see incredible things very soon, so stay tuned.
So, gentlemen, what's your thoughts on that?
Very interesting. I just, I love it for one, because I think I mentioned before, I had a number of experiences where I saw in the future. I would wake up at night after I've had a vision or a dream that I was going to be in downtown San Francisco for a major earthquake, and I was. But I had told my then wife, a couple of times a year for 7 years that I was going to be in San Francisco. I keep having the same dream. She just laughed. She said, we have family in the East Bay, and you grew up down in the peninsula. You're not going to be in the city. Sure as shit, I was at corner Stockton and Geary for the Loma Prieta earthquake. And then I had another one that was so outrageous, I couldn't even tell anybody. And I had it off and on for 10 years, and it was very, very vivid. And it was commercial airliners hitting the World Trade Center. And I did that for 10 years, and and again, it was so freaky, no one would believe me. They'd say, kind of weird, good all.
And I think that's what Dick is talking about. Cliff talks about it. That's what I yammer on about. these are all natural, innate capabilities of the experience that we have as consciousness. And because the carbon-based meat biological structure that we uber as we hang around here has got all these restrictions around it. It's got all these confinements and all these things that our senses are limited. But you go to the consciousness, which is what inhabits and animates the meat suit. That's where all the magic is. That's what they're doing. And Cliff's approach with, he called it the asymmetric linguistic trends analysis, or the Alter report.
What the fuck was that? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. WTF,
like,
yeah.
It was funny when Jimmy introduced me on the show, he said, all right, everybody, he's an autodidact semiotician. Go look that up. And I went, okay, that's good place to start. But to the video that we just watched, they called it. It's documented. It is fully documented.
And it was 4 years ago.
And it just happened. It just happened last night.
And
we are watching what both Dick and Cliff were talking about, and that it is a temporal marker.
I think 23 million have seen it. I think the last time I looked.
Yeah, it was over 20 last time I looked.
Yeah,
and that was just on YouTube. He's on.
Yeah.
He's got another 15 or 17 million on Spotify. You know,
it's the most watched interview ever of anybody.
So, what do you think the numbers for the Madison Square Garden event are going to be like?
Oh, geez, there aren't enough decimal points or commas, I should say. It's just, and the team that he has assembled around him. I mean, he has, you know, the newest member of the GOP, Tulsi Gabbard. I've always liked her, and even though she was a Democrat, you know, the Republican was a jerk, and I voted for her at least one time for Congress, and I couldn't understand what she was doing on the Republican Party. I mean, on the Democrat Party, but she officially joined the GOP I think yesterday or today.
Yeah, she announced it at one of her appearances at the rally.
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
and then you have Vivek, and you have Tucker Carlson, you have Elon Musk, you have Kash Patel. I mean, and who does the left have? Oh, they have Hillary and The View.
I mean, they have Beyonce.
And Usher. I mean, come on, Usher, Beyonce, Eminem. I mean, they're dragging out all the old big guns, old in their years. I'm looking at it going, right, okay.
I need to pay the water bill, so I'll be back in a minute.
You do that, I'll wind up Terry, and we'll see how far he goes to you. All right, Terry, what do you think about this whole remote viewing and what we just saw with the factual documented data? I mean, it is irrefutable. It is empirical.
Yeah,
and we all just experienced and watched it come to fruition. We all saw the result.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Yeah, well, yes, it's real, that's for sure. And as a witness in this experience myself, I remember back in 1990, the year my mother passed away. And I would say about 28 hours, maybe 30 hours before my mother passed, I knew something was wrong with somebody in the family. I rang around, I went and visited my mother. She was fine. Happy as Larry, nothing wrong. Visit, and check Dad. Yeah, Dad was fine. My brothers were fine. Okay, but I couldn't sleep that day because I was not working. That time I was actually running 3 jobs. I was doing night security, starting up my computer business and Oh, mate, and this goes on, but yes, I was very run off my feet, and I couldn't sleep that day anyway. In the evening, about 11 o'clock, I've got a call over the two-way radio. I was doing security work at the time. And he said, you better call home, your brother. I says, okay. So I couldn't. He says, yeah, Mum's in hospital. Okay, so I'll come down now. And he's, no, don't worry. She's sitting up in bed laughing. She's fine. And she actually passed away with emphysema. And not just smoking, because she had lung damage when she was a young woman with tuberculosis. That's what stuffed up her lungs. Anyway, the following morning, I went in straight from work, went and visited her, sat down, sitting up in bed, like there was nothing wrong. And one of my brothers walked in. She said, "Oh, I've seen all my boys now," and she was laughing, giggling, and blah blah blah. And about 10, I think, about 10 minutes into it, she said, "I'm feeling a bit tired." So I kind of puffed up her pillows and sat her back into the pillows. I had my my right arm up around her neck and her left hand in my left hand. And she shut her eyes. And I can honestly say within less than 10 seconds, or less than 10 seconds, I just said to my brother, I says, "Go and get the nurse." He says, "Why?" "Just get the nurse." And I had to repeat myself 3 or 4 times. So he went and got the nurse. The nurse came in, got out the stethoscope and says, "Your mother's passed." But I knew all those hours ahead, while she was sitting up talking, happy as Larry,
Yeah.
And,
so you had a you had a psychic connection or resonance that you resonated with, that all of a sudden gave you that sensation, that awareness. You were dialed into that frequency of
yes, but it wasn't the only time of it.
It was happening in the future.
Yeah, and wasn't the only time that happened to me, because I was actually working as a computer engineer in Kalgoorlie, right? And this is after selling my business, and I had to do some work anyway, working in the mine sites. And I said to Mary, I said, "I've got to get back to Perth." "Why?" "I don't know. I've got to get back to Perth." And when I got back to Perth, I found out my father was put into a nursing home. Nobody told me. Anyway, I decided I got a new job anyway with McDonald's, IT, McDonald's Corporation, and I was only home about a week, and I visited my father 3 times, and on the last day, I was speaking to him. I said, "Love you, Dad." He said, "Love you too, son." And as I walked out, I spoke to the nurse. I said, "Can you please call me when my father passes?" What a horrible thing to say. I said, "No, I mean, I'd like you to contact me if anything happens to my father." She said, "Well, I'm on shift." She said, "I'm on a late shift doing overtime tonight, so I'll call you if anything happens." Okay. Well, I got a phone call that evening, 1 o'clock in the morning. "Your father just passed." And when I went in, she looked at me, she says, "How did you know?" I didn't know. I just sensed that something was going down. It's not I don't call it, it's a curse. It's a horrible experience to go through. But no, I'm not psychic. No, definitely not.
No, you had a psychic experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And, yeah.
I mean, isn't that what these guys just did? They actually, went at it with intent. It was a deliberate attempt to use consciousness to go non-local, to go find a frequency set, and to go focus in on it, attenuate to it, and see what kind of information
here's a mind-boggling one. Here's a mind-boggling one, Robert. Now, with my first wife, we were traveling across Australia on a holiday, right? And we're on the Nullarbor Plains. That's the road that takes from South Australia to Perth, right? It's hundreds and hundreds of miles of just flat plains. I mean, it's 460 kilometers to the nearest service station once you start that trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I said to my wife at the time, "Stop the car." She said, "Why?" says, stop the car. And she keeps driving. And I shout at us, stop the freaking car. And I was really abrupt. So she stopped the car. I said, what is it now? And as soon as she stopped the car, no joke, within about 4 or 5 seconds after, about 50 feet, 60 feet up the road from us, a bloody 4-trailer road train crossed over. You couldn't see it. You couldn't see it from the highway. But when we stopped, it just went straight across the freeway, the highway. No way would that truck would have stopped. Loaded up with cattle.
Ooh. Okay, so I'm not sure you answered the question. Gee, what are your thoughts on what we just saw there?
I believe in it. Put it that way. I believe in.
That was a lot easier. Gee, what do you?
I think it's really interesting with remote viewers. You know, the stuff that they come up with, the drawings, the sketches, the thoughts that come to them. I'd kind of like to see that sheet a little closer. Did they hit on any topics that they talked about, or?
Yeah, he went through some of them. They talked about UFOs. They talked about corruption, some other shit. Yeah, I mean, so what do you think? Do you think that is that empirical proof of non-local consciousness?
You know, I don't really know how they get their data or how it comes to them. I mean, it's obviously that it's like you said, they assign random numbers and letters to them, and they don't have any idea what the subject is.
There's an entire protocol. There's several of them. They use CRV, controlled remote viewing. There's also associative remote viewing and enhanced remote viewing, and they're all mental exercises. It's nothing. It's exactly like meditation and all the different variations and forms of that. But this is a very focused intent to go take this identity of whatever this random number is. What does that represent? And go look. So it's purposeful, it's intentional, it's process oriented. They go through a whole number of disciplines, checking all the different senses and variables, smells, sights, sounds. So it's very methodical. Max is actually in the chat tonight, and so he knows what I'm talking about. That's what it's a procedure that once, just like anything else, once you get on it and you learn it and you get good at it, you start dropping shit like these guys did. Now, not only did the remote viewers with a totally different protocol and approach find it, but Cliff found it doing his web bots, scouring the language that's out there and finding the psychic leakage of the predictive nature of the future.
Is that like anal leakage?
For a lot of people, I think it doesn't matter which hole, it's always leaking. So I think what we see with this is validation of different divination technologies and tools.
I've always felt it's possible because of my Sicilian grandmother. I mean,
right, that story, right?
Yeah, where she woke up in the middle of the night screaming and said, Papa fell off, into the water. He was a fisherman in Alaska. This is 1920s. There was no radio, telephone, there wasn't internet, nothing. And if you're anchored and you have your nets out, I'm
clipping that, right?
Yeah, I know. And it's going to be a special little place.
Just a little on repeat. Yeah. Get your nuts out. Get your nuts out. Get your nuts out.
The tide, they have 45, 50-foot tides out there, and the water's going. It's sometimes up to 15 knots, and you're anchored. And if you fall overboard, the water's in the 30s. The only thing that keeps it from freezing, because it's moving and it's salt water. And she woke up in the middle of the night and my mom, her two sisters and two brothers went rushing in to see Nana, my grandmother, and says, Papa just fell overboard. But he caught his foot in the net and he's okay. And she wrote it down on her calendar to witness of her 5 children. And then when the fisherman fleet made it back, 2.5 months later, that was the first thing that Nana said to my grandfather. He was Salvatore. He said, Angelina, I have something to tell you. And she says, yes, you fell overboard on such and such. She knew the place. She knew the time. She saw him fall. And that's what she woke up screaming in the middle of the night. So, and my mom used to be able to predict earthquakes. So, and I've had a couple of weird things happen to me. So I know it's I mean, I'm a firm believer, especially these guys. These guys, they're going at like
they're scary good.
Yeah, scary
right.
good's a good way to describe.
So why do you think they were 4 years off?
Exactly what Dick said. You can see the pattern, but the time is, they're looking in a linear sense, but the time itself isn't linear. So they're able to dial into it.
A big impact.
They're able to dial into that frequency set and get data around that pattern of frequencies that's going to occur. And that's the information that they're seeing in their mind as they're going through this process and procedure and his protocol to get into a state to go do that. Clay, what do you think about this?
Well, I think everybody has the ability to maybe see the future. And I think everybody's been like, yeah, there was this one time when I had this dream and then it came true. You hear that a lot, but then you have a group of people that actually train and do this stuff over and over and over again and hone in their craft. And I think they can pinpoint things a lot better. And so I definitely believe it. And I think everybody's had that, even deja vu type feeling like, man, I thought I've been here before, Maybe you were, maybe you knew that. So yeah, definitely interesting stuff.
I can remember even as a kid, I had multiple dreams of my brother having a car door close on his finger, and he lost part of his finger. And it was like a year to 2 years later, it actually happened. So when it happened, I wasn't surprised. I asked if it was, McDermott's across the street, and it was.
Now, if they can get these down to where they can pick out actual dates and times and stuff, then that gets a little scary.
They have done that. I mean, the Cliff with the web bots, it's like Dick showed in that video. He called it to the week. Here's the other one that just happened was there was a huge temporal marker they picked up both again. And this, I think they're probably going to drop a video on this because I've watched this. Temporal marker picked up in February, March, that something was going to happen. There was going to be emotional, the emotional aspect would crescendo and then have what he calls an emotional release. The tension build up and then the release. Around the middle of July 15th. And I go, whoa, wait, don't be dropping. That's my B-day. Don't be dropping any crazy shit and screwing up my party. So they all picked it up. They kept picking it up, and Cliff kept running his data. RV guys did a whole thing. There's something big that's going to happen. July 13th was when Trump was shot. So all of that is documented. These guys have been calling the events, and now they're within months of the latest stuff that they've called. It's like, okay, explain me how that works. What is it? How does your science, how does your quantum this and your fuzzy that explain this clearly, to me, it's empirical data of non-local consciousness. The ability to go outside your local body, your local being, your local thinking even, and head out and go check shit out. And I think that's some of the magic that the sci-fi world that Cliff's talking about, Dick talked about, is happening. So I'm like, oh, I got to live and experience all these data points as I've been following these guys for over a decade, Cliff for 2. And I keep watching them do this shit. Oh, there's another one up. They got it again. Now they're calling the big stuff. And I'm going, oh man, is this awesome? Because the stuff that's coming around the corner, as I've been saying, they're saying the same thing. Shit's going to get real awesome. Sci-fi world is here. And all this doom and gloom, the stuff that gets Terry's bush all ruffled up. Because, you know, that in the outback, you got a lot of bush out there, right, T?
Yeah, more you can poke a stick at. We've got a particular bush up north here in Western Australia. Just change the subject.
What's your
We
name?
call it snake. We call it snakewood. It's so hard, it's actually petrified. You know, and they tell you something. You think, oh yeah, nice bush. As soon as you go up to it, mate, it's like stone.
Well, we have ironwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, ironwood. Yeah.
Yep.
We got down here in the Southwest, we got the petrified forest.
Wow.
And boy, some of that is just, I mean, that's just amazing. You look at it and you go, huh? And speaking of that, I've got another one that I wanted to share with you guys. The latest LiDAR.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Down there
on the list.
Antarctica. Yeah, this is Antarctica. Then there's stuff in Graham Hancock's second season of Ancient Apocalypse is amazing. I've watched all 6. Come on now. There we go.
Hey everyone, big heads up, Paleo Valley's running a sale on all their meat sticks right now. You can get 30 sticks for $36.
Modern technologies have enabled man to peek into the past like never before. Numerous discoveries have thus far been made, many of which, as we predicted, continue to reinforce our posit of past civilizations being once far older, greater in occurrence, and some in size and indeed technological prowess than currently academically stated. Notably, expanding recognized scales of many of these ancient cities. We believe these often remarkably ingeniously laid out settlements, now buried under millennia of strata, were sometimes either partly re-inhabited, leaving later relics, or simply have surviving sections piercing the ground strata, foliage, and tree levels. Guatemala, a perfect example of this. Submerged beneath impenetrable forest, yet dotted with towers once argued as separate ruins, built in honor of various things, now realized thanks to LiDAR as one once enormous mega-metropolis. Furthermore, this ancient claimed Mayan site, amazingly, does not hold the title for possessing the largest single ancient structure, possibly on Earth. Although buried under several meters of earth, LiDAR has revealed the site as Aguada Phoenix, a structure of astonishing proportions, has been found, scanned, and measured. Discovered to be over 4,500 feet long and 50 feet in height, the platform of its roof alone would have taken a stunning expanse of space, and the research being undertaken to understand yet another mega-metropolis which surrounded the structure are finally forcing an overdue change in long-held, stubborn, ignorant, and to us, long opposed paradigms regarding who, when, and indeed how ancient people accomplished such achievements. Researchers stated, quote, Aguada Phoenix is by far the most sprawling ruin, end quote. They continued, in fact, after 3 years of study, We have determined that it's by far the largest and very probably the oldest Maya structure ever found in Mexico. These quotes, however, raise some curious questions, although the research thankfully transparent in nature, sharing the incredible discovery with the world. If indeed the oldest structure ever found, one has to remember it is also one of the most incredibly massive and clearly one of the most complex architecturally constructed structure as well. The question, how is this logical? We feel a contradictory statement, unless one perceives the past as our channel argues it once was. We will keep you posted on the discovery. We find it highly compelling.
We recently covered the perplexing, yet little shared.
What do you think of that, Jim?
Well, talking to archaeologists, at all the sites that went to, they are mostly grad students working on their PhD in archaeology, so they're very knowledgeable. And even the first time I was there, and even the second time when we talked to them, they strongly believe now that the pyramids in Mesoamerica are not 2,000 years old, but somewhere between 20,000 and 200,000 years old.
Right.
And at one time, the population of the Maya population in this area, from just south of Mexico City to northern Colombia, was between 10 and 20 million. And when they did a LiDAR scan in this one area of Guatemala, they thought it was an uninhabitable area, and they're looking for maybe Mayan roads. And an area that is 800 square miles, which is not a lot of land mass when you're talking about a country. That an area of dense jungle, they uncovered or detected 60,000. That's 60,000. 60,000 man-made structures
that they had no idea was there because it was all covered up by a bunch of trees and leaves and greens and stuff. And then you got stuff like this. You guys are familiar with this, right?
Oh yeah.
The terracotta soldiers.
Right. I mean,
but that wasn't found by LiDAR, though.
And everyone's different.
That's not LiDAR. We're talking about stuff you can't see.
Buried, yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on here?
Somebody's got a lot of money and a lot of power.
I saw I saw when they did the U.S. tour in Atlanta. They were there for like 6 months. I went in and looked at that stuff. And it was amazing. I mean, every one of these is a different face.
Yes, right. Not two are alike, that's for sure.
Yep.
And you
go, a lot of detail.
That is some serious commitment to making that stuff go, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back here. I've got.
And some of them they even had to put back together, right? Because some of them were broke, whether because they were digging it up or whatever happened, and they took the time to actually put those pieces together on a lot of them.
There's one other one here before we go to that.
Are we gonna go into the? We didn't get very deep on Antarctica.
Yeah, that was the wrong one. I noticed that, and I went,
okay. I was wondering what happened to Antarctica.
Yeah, I apologize. I had the wrong one there. So
Come on, Robert. Get your shit together, mate.
Hey. I'm working the tools.
Working the tool, all right.
So do you like the way this works?
Yeah. Are you tired of struggling with stubborn jar lids?
Oh, shit, yeah.
This ultimate kitchen tool will revolutionize.
So do you guys see that all right and hear it okay?
Sounds great.
Yep.
Excellent. I'm really enjoying using the mind map for this. Seems to be much easier and cleaner.
And it looks really cool.
How in the hell did somebody make that? I mean, come on. How is that made? Does that look carved to you?
It was cut. It was with a laser or.
That's a pretty smooth edge right next to the stairs or the steps.
Yeah, I mean that. And you can see the wear, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But the rest of this, I don't know. To me, it looks molded.
Poured cement.
I mean, really?
I mean, it was though they had forms and they poured the cement into it.
It looks formed.
Yeah.
And why the curve? I mean, if you can cut that out, why didn't you just go straight down?
The guy was smoking weed. He didn't know.
Well, maybe that was a natural water erosion, and then they carved it out or whatever for the steps.
Okay.
I don't know.
This looks interesting over here. It looks like maybe that's kind of purposeful. That doesn't look like a normal crack.
No, it could be a lava flow at one time. I don't know what kind of rock that is. It was probably too steep if you went straight down.
So
it did kind of look volcanic a little bit by the color.
This is all around Lake Titicaca. So you go, all right, what's going on over there? So the one that I had it queued up for last week, and we didn't get to it. But now we're going to get to it, because this, for everybody that pisses and moans about data this and data that, have you guys looked at the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive that Greer launched?
No, but everything that Michael Schratt has scanned for 18 months is in here. Every document of his, everything that Dr. Greer had, plus he went to Roswell. I mean, almost everything that has ever been documented on alien encounter, UFOs, retrievals, crashes, sightings, is in there. And it's all scannable by name. It's all, there was PDF files. So you just say, you can say Roswell, or you can say Bascom Downs, whatever it was. And it should find it. I know.
Oops.
Yeah, you know how to spell.
Yeah, I had a spelling problem there. So I went here this week. I went to the Hart crash site where the concrete pad is. Took them 2 weeks. It was 8 months. See, Roswell was July 6th, and Hart was March of 48, about 8 months later. And I went there and I got pictures. And I should have loaded them from my phone. I can probably hold them up, but very interesting place. And all these things, search sees maximum result limit. Only there's a whole bunch of them in there. Let's just pick a random thing and see what's going on here. Dugway Proving Ground dumb coordinates deep.
They're supposed to be doing some interesting stuff at Dugway right now.
Mm-hmm. I just moved from Utah. It's always been hush hush out there.
Well, I mean, primarily that's where they tested nerve gas and those type of agents that are now banned. I know when I was at Lowry, they had Rocky Mountain Arsenal, and they had all the nerve gas from World War II. I think they had them in Korea, but they had VX gas. If one of those containers had accidentally dropped and broke open, everything, the teardrop shape, 1,400 miles to the east-northeast, going from outside of Denver to as wide as 400 miles as it approached the Great Lakes. Everything in that area, organic or whatever, would be dead. Everything.
I remember there was a big ordeal in Utah because it's where they took the chemical weapons was out to dug weight up, dispose of them.
Well, they eventually moved all those nasty chemicals and stuff to Johnson Island, and they incinerated it all at a real high temperature, and it breaks it down to.
Are we talking about Agent Orange and stuff like that?
Yeah, all that nasty shit. Yeah. So.
Well,
what do we have here?
This is the where was that? Facilities map for
Dumbs?
Black Site is what it says. Is that right?
I'll be back in a moment, guys. Going for a non-drink.
So
Thursday.
Let's see, that was from that image. So the main reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is probably the largest collection of documentation regarding the entire ufology of the exposure of the disclosure.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else has got this much.
Well, and they've all shared the information, except for the ones that are, well, this is mine, I'm going to keep it, I'm not going to share it with anybody. And then he's going to pass away someday, and his kid's going to look, oh, that's just shit, and then throw it in the dumpster. This way, pretty much everything has been scanned. Anything new that happens will be entered in the same type of format. So, and I saw a clip of the Lazar, the original whistleblower, and it looks eerily real. So I don't.
Well, like I said, I wanted to bring this up actually a few weeks ago, but it's free. You just sign up. You have to register with an email, and then you can go in there and just start looking for shit. And they're constantly adding more, and they're actually. He said in an interview that they will be adding an AI-based search across the database, so you can do all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's excellent, excellent start, and there's probably more of that kind of disclosure stuff going on. That's where the real stuff is going on in places like that than any of the stuff we're going to get out of whoever's pulling triggers and paying bills and, funding all the bullshit. So that's what I got to say.
Just purely Larry and Moe, huh? This is the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Elderberry, good to see you. Thank you. And Woo in the house. Sarah. She's probably already left by now going, again, more of the same shit. Needs a different spiel. So.
Well, here's something different we haven't talked about.
Drop it.
Here in Illinois, in the last 2 weeks, we've had a Bigfoot report and a Mothman report, all within like an hour and a half of us from where I live.
Wow.
Has drug usage gone up in those areas?
No more than at your house.
Well, I've never seen one. I
haven't either.
That's what pisses me off.
I haven't ever seen a UFO, but yet we got a big site doing all the archives about witnesses seeing stuff. So
yeah,
what the heck?
I mean, I've been in and around Area 51 and that area almost 100 times, 100 individual days over the last 50 years. And I'm always looking up, always. I have my binoculars out there, and anything I see, I've never seen anything I couldn't explain, and it just pisses me off. Karen Hill, who is the MUFON president of the Tucson chapter, she shot a TR-3B over to the north part of Tucson, and I saw the image, and I said, "Shit, I'm out there all the time." And I don't see shit because I'll go out there with a lounge chair. I'll put it back, and I'm looking up to the sky, smoking some weed. My dog's right next to me. She's keeping me company, and I don't see anything.
Huh.
Oh, but maybe if I go back to the place I was yesterday in the evening, as I was walking out to my car, it's on top of a hill. It's in Saddlebrook, which is a very nice planned community north of Tucson, but there's very little lights. You look up, and I'd been outside for a couple hours, and you look up, and here in this part, and I think it is the same as Roberts because there's not much industry to pollute the sky. To look up on a clear night and see the Milky Way, and have it bright. It's just,
right.
It's just, and the human eye on a clear night, on average, you can't see more than 9,000 stars. But each one of those stars could be a galaxy with, with 100 billion stars in it or more. And
well, speaking of, the stars and the twinkles, what G just brought up, you got a Bigfoot and what was it?
Mothman.
So you got a Mothman and a Bigfoot up there. And Sarah in the chat said, do you think the Mothman sighting may be an indication of an impending disaster?
Yeah, because they say the Mothman shows up with as a harbinger.
Yeah, right before something bad happens. Yeah.
Yeah, just because the bridge collapsed and when he showed up. But there's a lot of reports around Chicago. They have an actual Google map mapping out all the current things, and it's spreading out from the city. But this last one was in Bloomington, Illinois, so it's way further south than us even. And then Bigfoot was in by Canton, Illinois, which is on the other side of Peoria, Illinois, the biggest city going that way. All within about 2 hours of us, hour and a half to 2 hours of where we live. So I don't know.
So
maybe they're zeroing in on us. I don't know.
See, maybe you're turning into a hotspot, and you're gonna have to keep all them cameras going in case you have some encounters that you weren't expecting.
Well, that's what we got one going 24/7 most times that are out on the internet. So if anybody tunes in to Midwest Night Watchers and sees anything while we're sleeping, let us know in the comments or in the chat. And hey, I saw some big winged thing with red eyes. Let us know.
Yeah. Write down the timestamp.
Yeah, just check out the Midwest Night Watchers Peep Show, and you can see all the cameras and all the stuff going down. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I'm thinking, Sarah said that it was after the Silver Bridge collapse in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they seeing them out there as well? In West Virginia, North Carolina, or are these the ones you're talking about are all in Illinois?
Illinois. These are the two recent ones in Illinois, but I mean, there's Mothman, Bigfoot sightings all over the whole country. But here within the last 2 weeks, there's been 2 sightings of 2 separate cryptids. Or so Chicago is a hot spot. After it hit the airport, people were reporting it. Then it's just like they're reporting it nonstop since then. And you can go to like I said, Google Maps of Mothman in Chicago, and there is this like they got markers for every one. It seems like it's getting farther and farther out of the city.
Yeah, my brother's nickname most of his life was Sasquatch or Squatch. He has a size 17 triple or quadruple E, and he's 6'5", 6'6". He's shrunk over the years, and I don't know how to post it, else I would. But I went and spent an hour plus with him for the first time in 25 years here, coming back from Seattle. So I did my good deed for my son. But
well,
Rosemary said, "We never have to do this again, do we?" And I said, "No, we don't." Because we got in there, Gretchen, his wife of 30 some odd years or 40 years, whatever the hell it is, she didn't say a word when we came in. We went in the living room, sat down. I sat down next to my brother so I can hear him. Rosemary and Gretchen are standing. She gets a chair out of the living room, or dining room. I said, "But sit down." I figured she brought Rosemary a chair. How nice. No, she didn't. Yeah, she sat down in it. But when we came in, she said, "We've been driving for a while, and traffic is bad going through Portland. Hey, would you care for you need something to drink? The bathroom is down the hall. Whatever. Can I get you something?" She didn't say a word. She was like this the whole time. And Rosemary was standing while she's sitting down. And my brother's my brother is as charming as his wife. Those of well, Robert's met me in person. I've been on this enough. You sort of get an idea who I am and what I am.
Yeah, that I have.
Yeah, and my brother is the exact opposite of me. Anything I do, he's 180 degrees out of phase from me. And we had the same biological parents. That's what's crazy.
So speaking of out of phase,
yeah.
2 things. One, Sarah asked in the chat, or she says, it seems like the interdimensional world is interacting with our physical realm more than ever. This could be explaining the cryptids and all of the different interdimensional experiences, the paranormal, the saucers.
It's a shifting of the poles. I mean, it's going to
shifting of the poles. Well, I'd like to share this with you guys and tell me what you think about this. Is this the right one? Yes. You may have seen this if you haven't. Welcome to Huh? down. Watch the middle of the screen. Right in here. Right there, see that? See that?
Yeah.
Gonna zoom in on again. Look at that. Coming out here. What do you think that is, gentlemen?
I have no idea.
Have you ever seen that before?
Well,
No.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, because I have so a big propane tank floating under the water gets hit by the corner of that building there. The valve gets hit or knocked off, rolls over so that it expels a big puff of propane, and then the waves tip the propane back over, so or the tank back over, so it only shoots out that one short burst. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
That's interesting. I've never seen propane turn white like that.
I've seen here in the farming community, I've seen what is it? I can't remember the chemical they use for farming.
The phosphate?
No.
Anhydrous ammonia.
Anhydrous ammonia, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When the tanks and the temperature gets right, the valves release to let off the pressure in the tank, and it kind of does look like that, but not quite.
Yeah, like steam, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looks like
Yeah,
steam.
it kind of looked like a burst of like steam coming out.
Yeah.
Or they
No,
ate my
but it
daughter's
looks like
cooking.
stuff. Now, right there, it looks like it's got legs and it's crawling up.
Mm-hmm.
There is a shadow to it as it goes further on.
And then it just vanishes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I remember seeing this right when the tsunami. Look at that tsunami. I mean, good God.
Right.
Hey, this is happening all over the
Oh,
friggin'
you've
world.
seen it again.
Yeah, it's one way to get rid of rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah, you see it again going back behind that house in the back corner, the right upper
I didn't
right
see
hand
that.
corner. Yeah, you see it again behind the house. So look between the two houses up.
This here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
up right up there. You see it again up
Yeah.
there here in a second.
Right up here. Yep. Right here. There it is.
Yep.
See it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's not gas. That's something that's cloaked, I reckon.
Right there. It just pops up.
That could be something venting. If it's getting knocked around and agitated, there may be a pressure valve.
Well, we don't know where if it was a tank floating next to that house and being submerged, we don't know where it ended up after that because it didn't go into the main water channel.
Yeah.
But look at how far back this is.
Yeah, it had to get behind the building. That's the thing.
It went up here, and now it's popped up. There's two buildings.
Yeah.
And it's back here behind this building up front. There's no way a tank was going to end up going through here.
Maybe a different tank.
Oh, very strange.
There's a lot of shit we can't explain going on in this world of ours.
Man, tsunamis are so devastating.
Ooh, Derek said there was a huge water monster in this video somewhere too.
When I was in Hawaii, when they had the earthquake in Peru, we had all sorts of warning. I mean, it was a Saturday, beautiful day in Waikiki, and there wasn't a soul in the street. And we were in the top of the Ilokai, and they said if you wanted to be above the 4th floor, if you're within about 5 to 10 miles, depending on terrain of the beach, because the water is going to come in. And as it turns out, it didn't, but it did have erratic tides for a while. But I've seen what it can do. Seward, Alaska, the March 27th earthquake, the 64. It moved a diesel switching locomotive 3,000 feet up the side of a mountain.
Wow.
And that's just the power of water. The Valdez Harbor went from having to dredge it to where now it's in places 6,000 to 7,000 feet deep, because the mountain goes way, way down, but the silt was all the way up here, and they'd have to. But after the Good Friday earthquake, most of that stuff slid out, and took a ferry boat with it that was never found, or its occupants. And earthquakes are just incredible things that you can't predict. They're scary because you don't know when they're going to start, and when they start, you don't know when they're going to finish. You can't see it coming. Animals can hear it or feel it. I don't know if it's a change in the electromagnetic field around wherever the fault is. That's probably what the animals feel.
Birds, especially.
Yeah, birds. 24 hours before the Good Friday earthquake of 64, it was reported that there were herds of moose running up, heading towards high ground. Well, moose don't run around in herds, for one. You may have a family unit, but you're not going to have herds. I'd say 25 or 30 moose together, all heading out of Dodge. There wasn't a bird in the sky before the earthquake hit. And it moved up, down, or sideways 9 to 11 million square miles of landmass. And one of the dreams or visions I keep getting is I'm going to be in the Pacific Northwest when the Lama Prieta No, the Cascadia subduction zone decides to
fall off into the ocean.
Yeah, they said the geologist from the University of Washington said that if the entire 800 miles of the Cascadia subduction zone, if it all goes, it will be a 10 plus on the Richter scale for at least 10 minutes, not counting the aftershocks. And there will be vertical movements of between 35 and 45 feet. Wow. That's 45 feet up and 45 feet down. Anything that's on that is on landfill is a liquefy. He said everything from Vancouver, British Columbia, all the way down into Central Oregon. Anything west I-5 will no longer be here.
Speaking of I-5 and the California coast, remember those maps you've seen of the future of the continent, and there's, Mississippi's all flooded, and there's
right,
California's off the mainland, and there's a big body of water between the coast and the mainland. And even back in the old maps that the conquistadors and all the folks drew of the coast of North America, California was an island, right?
Well, California used to have a giant lake that used to run through the middle of it, almost from the very north of it to the very south.
And that's what I think that the maps were showing, is that giant lake. There is an amazing amount of huge aquifer, and there's even more water in the planet, they think, than on the surface. Just like the abiotic oil that everybody's gotten their cheeks all lathered up with, because that's just complete nonsense. About all the entire narrative about oil, petroleum is bullshit, just like everything else. So speaking of bullshit.
Yes, Robert.
That's a nice segue.
There sometimes, bullshit can come in various forms
and flavors
and in various ways, but sometimes it's just the obvious stuff that within which, the bullshit happens, and you sit there and you go, now that's some good bullshit right there. So let's have some bullshit dad style, shall we?
It's hereditary.
It runs in your genes.
A sweater I purchased was picking up static electricity, so I decided to return it. He gave me another one free of charge.
Free of charge.
You're American when you go into the bathroom and out of the bathroom, but what are you when you're in the bathroom?
What?
European.
Do they allow loud laughing in Hawaii, or just aloha?
Oh, shit. Oh, that's bad.
Have you ever tried archery blindfolded? You don't know what you're missing. Guy told me there was a shark attack today. The shark took out his whole left side. I couldn't believe it when he told me he was all right.
My Viagra addiction was the hardest time of my life.
That's disgusting. Just applied for a job at the diner. I said I'd bring a lot to the table.
Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion. I bought it from the App Store for free.
They should create a beer called Occasionally, so when asked, I say I drink occasionally.
How do priests get rid of insects and set up a church? Lettuce spray.
Why are mountains so fun? Because they're hilarious.
Sick.
Hilarious.
hilarious. I can't bring my dog to the pond anymore. The ducks keep attacking him. I guess that's what I get for buying a purebred dog.
Last night my wife asked me, is it just me or is the cat getting fat? Apparently it's just you wasn't the right answer.
Remember when I got fired from the keyboard factory for not putting in enough shifts?
Yeah, they wouldn't even let you return or enter.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Changed the
good.
caps locks on me.
Cap locks.
I joined the gym and asked my trainer what machine I should use to get beautiful girls. He told me I should try the ATM machine outside.
I wish somebody could tell me what IDK means. Every time I ask, they say I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. My doctor said I have the peekaboo virus. Sent me straight to the ICU.
Actually,
That
I
was
took
good.
my cat's meds last night. Don't ask me how.
Meow.
I'm reading a horror book in Braille. Something bad's gonna happen. I can feel it. My wife is so negative. I remember the car seat, the stroller, and the diaper bags. Yet, all she can talk about is how I forgot the baby.
I haven't talked to my wife in 7 years. I don't want to interrupt her.
If math is mathematical and quizzes are quizzical, what are tests? I have 2 unwritten rules. 1 and 2.
Yesterday, my doctor told me I had 6 months to live. I told him I couldn't pay the bill, so he gave me another 6 months.
My wife got pissed at me because I accidentally overcooked the ribeye last night. I told her, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Boo.
When your wife says she'll be home in 5 minutes, she will be. You don't have to remind her every 15 minutes.
My wife said she was fed up with me always getting my directions mixed up. So I packed my bags and write.
My wife still thinks I'm sexy. Every time I walk by her, she says, what an ass. I do have a great ass.
Last night, my obese parrot died.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Fortunately, it was a huge weight off my shoulders.
I just joined a dating site for arsonists. They sent me a lot of matches.
Oh, shit.
I lost my wife's audiobook last night. Now I'm never going to hear the end of it.
That was a good one.
Oh, funny. That was good.
Sure.
I like that when I have 2 unwritten rules, 1 and 2.
Yeah, good one.
I think most of us can relate to some of those. Those guys is called doc talk. So these guys just sit around and they've got shitloads of them, and it's great. You can send they just try to keep the deadpan, but the bloopers are great because sometimes they'll drop one and just can't hold on. It's funny shit.
I've been lately. I've been kind of binge watching these 2 guys. I don't remember their name, but they take American food to UK high schools and have all these UK children try this American food, and it's just pretty hilarious. Like UK high school kids try Taco Bell for the first time.
Yeah, Wendy's.
Yeah.
What is this?
Now that think that 2 guys that do that, they have their own podcast. It started, they would come to America, and it was like 2 UK guys try, Wendy's for the first time. They did that whole tour across America, and then they started taking the food back to the UK and having people from the UK try it. And like all of our crazy food too, like Spam and fucking,
right.
Some of our crazy candy.
I like the ones the same way where they compare McDonald's from the US to Canada or UK or whatever fast food to see what theirs is like compared to what ours is like. Big difference a lot of times.
Yeah, I remember some Americans came to Australia and they were trying our food out, and they were spreading Vegemite like they were spreading peanut butter. And Vegemite's very salty. It's a yeast extract, But yeah, it's like everything else in Australia. I mean, our biscuits here are hard. You guys had your cookies, which are soft, more soft to chew. And like they say, our biscuits are too hard and crunchy. Not like America's. Our spreads are salty, or they're not sweet enough, or even our peanut butter even tastes different. I mean, it's good. It's good to listen to how other people think, though.
Well, Americans like our biscuits smothered in sausage gravy.
Oh, God, really?
Oh man, I have got a picture for you. Have you? So biscuits and gravy, right?
Oh.
Biscuits and gravy are the absolute shit.
You've got to be pulling me leg, surely.
No, really, biscuits and gravy. No. It's a popular breakfast.
Yeah, if you haven't had it, there's nothing that we can do to help you understand it. You just have to go get some.
It's glorious.
I can't find it up here. But anyway, you can imagine, right? A sausage fountain. Like a chocolate fountain, but
right.
Sausage, it's not sausage, but gravy fountain. A gravy fountain, just pumping it out, and you're just taking them biscuits and just dipping in and It's like one of the best meats. One of the best images I saw lately was it said the best way to eat steak, and it was this beautiful woman, and she had a hold of this big old ribeye, and she's taking a gnaw.
Right, no wonder why 85% of Americans are obese.
It's not because of the meat is a problem, but it's the process bullshit, and that's one of the other things that
we've got the same problem.
The Avengers, or however you want to call the pirates that Trump's assembled, you can call them the X-Men. Jordan Peterson called them the X-Men. I think they're more like the Avengers. They're coming in and they're going to clean up shit. Bobby going after the health, make America healthy again. That is the first time that kind of focus has ever had that kind of focus, and it's going to mean all the difference. We get rid of the chronic health problems in our society and around the world, but we get rid of those. All this other costs, all these pharmaceuticals, all this bullshit, the cost of food. I think what we're going to have is people will end up with their own, you'll be growing your own food. The technology to do vertical farming and produce your own shit right in your own little space is already out there. And the health benefits from changing the diet by changing the actual food is going to transform the planet. But the other thing that makes a difference is getting a good understanding and common use of language. And I got to tell you, Terry, you guys down there, you're a bunch of wankers.
Yes.
But your rivals are these guys.
Oh, God, the elevator guy. Scott's.
What's the buttons?
Oh, no, they installed voice recognition technology in this lift. I heard about this.
Voice recognition technology? In a lift? In Scotland? You ever tried voice recognition technology?
No.
They don't do Scottish accents.
11.
Could you please repeat that?
11.
11. 11.
11.
Could you please repeat that?
11.
Whose idea was this? You need to try an American accent. 11. 11.
That sounds Irish, not American.
No, doesn't it? 11.
Where in America is that? Dublin?
I'm sorry. Could you please repeat that?
Try an English accent, right?
11. 11. You for the same part of England as Dick Van Dyke?
Listen, yours then, smartass.
Please speak slowly and clearly.
Smartass.
11.
I'm sorry. Could you please repeat that?
11. If you don't understand the lingo, away back home to your own country.
Ooh, is that talk now, is it? Away back to your own country?
Oh, don't start, Mr. Bleeding Heart. How can you be racist to a lift?
Please speak slowly and clearly.
11. 11. 11. 11.
You're just saying it the same way.
You're going to keep saying it until I understand Scottish, all right? 11. 11. 11. 11.
I'll just take us anywhere, you cow. Just open the doors.
This is a voice-activated elevator. Please state which floor you would like to go to in a clear and calm manner.
Calm. Calm. Where's that coming from? Why is it telling people to be calm?
Because they knew they'd be selling this to Scottish people who'd be going off for nut-sitter.
You have not selected a floor.
Aye, we have! 11!
If you would like to get out of the elevator without selecting a floor, simply say, "Open the doors, please."
Please? Please? Suck my wally.
Maybe we should just say please.
I'm no begging that for nothing.
Open the doors, please.
Please? Pathetic.
Please remain calm.
Oh, you went up tonight. Get up there. Hey, just wait for it to speak.
You have not selected a floor.
Ah, Buells, you cow! You know what's in these doors? I'm going to come to America. I'm going to find whatever desperate actress gave you a voice, and I'm going to go in an electric chair for you.
Scotland, you bastard!
Scotland! Scotland!
Going up.
That was cute.
Oh, funny.
Well, see, we've been going, did we hit the 3-hour mark yet? Yes, we did.
I think so.
Just about
Yeah.
there. I think that's a
You want
pretty
to call
good
it?
spot
You want to
to
call it a night?
call it one. I think we covered a number of different things, and I think that was up to date for what we know. And I think, next time we get together, it'll be, that weekend is going to be lit, by the way.
You'd think, huh?
Are we on next week?
Next week will be the Saturday before the election. We get to make our last minute predictions.
I think between now and a week from today, I think Kumquat's entire little world is going to crumble all the way around her.
Well, I just hope
I
that
don't
they
know. I would,
try another assassination attempt.
yeah, I would definitely keep your eyes open. I wouldn't put it past anybody to do anything at this point in time.
You think there's still a chance for some late October surprise? We got
They don't have
Halloween
anything-
next
they don't-
Thursday night, and then it's November, and we've got
Right.
5 days.
My mother was born on Halloween.
My son's getting married on Halloween.
Hey, do you think? Tell me,
He's doing
I'll ask a
a
question. guys.
masquerade wedding, so I'll
Do
be
you
dressed
think-
up in a nice fancy suit with the cool
Wait,
masquerade.
you said your son, Clay,
Yeah.
is getting married on Halloween?
Yep, this Halloween. Yeah, we're gonna drive out and to the wedding, and It's a formal. It's a semi-formal masquerade wedding. So,
what are you gonna go as? You gonna do the whole Guy Fawkes thing?
well,
Grim Reaper.
no, they're gonna supply all the masks. So
is the mask
not
that you hold
exactly
over
sure.
with the.
Hey Clay, you like my
Yeah.
guitar?
I do like that.
Yeah, I fell in the bathtub and it shrunk. No, my wife, my son-in-law's sister bought me that.
Nice.
Yes, nice little gift.
Nice.
Speaking of
Before she took off back to Hong Kong. So
speaking of predictions, I sent a United States electoral map that you can fill out yourself, what you would guess how the election's going to turn out, so we could fill those out and do them right before the election to see.
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be great.
Hey, can I ask you guys, if Trump comes in as president, right? This is the last time he can do it, correct? He can only do 2 terms as presidency.
This will be his last term. Yeah.
Do you think Trump Jr. will take his place after that?
I think JD Vance. He's the best vice president candidate I think ever in modern times.
See how freaking tall Barron got? Holy hell!
Well, apparently,
is he like 6'5", 6? Yes, seriously.
Trump Jr. was in Australia about 6 months ago, and he was doing a big speak, and apparently the word got out that he says, "Don't be surprised if I run for the presidency sometime."
He might, but I think they're setting it up for Vance.
Right.
Yeah, and Trump has said on multiple occasions that he is very, very pleased with his choice of vice president.
Excellent.
And maybe if Vance runs, maybe Trump Jr. will be his vice and set him up for after Vance.
Well, I think that all of that is plausible. And the players on that side of the field have got one hell of a bench. And if they execute half of what they're capable of, and they say they're going to, I think we're probably looking at least the next 12, maybe 20 years of the political system being run primarily by the folks that are currently about to take over. However, I don't think they'll necessarily, there may be a morph from the two-party thing. There's too much entrenched shit that causes that bifurcation into 3 or 4 to even be reasonable, which is why it hasn't worked. But I think that first of all, the Democratic side of the political ideology is in complete shambles. And it's going to take at least a decade or more for it to reconstitute itself. So that whole ideology is going to go through major change. I think the same thing is going to happen on the Republican side.
Like an enema. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. I think the same thing is going to happen on the Republican political ideology, but it's going to be different. I think there's going to be a shitload of competition for people who can do shit and get stuff done. And I think that's going to spur a whole bunch of really cool stuff. So I think we're going to see some really cool shit.
All the rhinos have been identified.
I think if Trump's dream team or Avengers, whatever you want to call them, actually get in there and do what they say they're going to do,
right?
It's just going to clear the way, and everybody's just going to say, well, look how great this is. I mean, the economy and all the infrastructure and everything is going to start flowing. And I mean, why would you vote against that?
Finish the pipeline he started off, for sure.
Yep. And the wall.
And the wall, yeah.
Drill and build.
And I'll be interested to see what he'll do with the Ukraine and also with Israel as well.
I want my own oil rig right out back. I want to pump oil, man.
That's right.
I hung out with my friend last night on Rumble, and we watched The Wall. And man, I forgot how such a good movie that was. Music and just the movie.
And we talked about Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
mate.
Yeah,
Stay still, will you?
He was streaming and I hadn't seen him in a while because of the move, so I hopped up on his panel. They did their panel through Discord, which was really very cool, I thought. And then they streamed it to Rumble. And
Hey,
then
I sent
yeah, we
you.
used the Discord studio. I was just like this.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. But yeah, kind of just watching the wall again, because I hadn't watched it in 20 years probably.
Really?
Kind of just brought a flood of emotion to me. And I was like, man, you know, more things change, the more they stay the same.
Mate,
So next time you need to do Wizard of Oz with Pink Floyd.
What's that, G?
So tell them next time they need to do Wizard of Oz with Pink Floyd.
Hey, I forwarded a video piece to you a couple of days ago. It was John Mayall. I think it was 2002. It was Montrose Jazz Festival, Blues Festival. Sent it to your email.
Send it to me?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing it.
Huh.
But I would have loved to. I love John Mayall.
I mean, I listened to it like 4 times in a row. It kept looping through, and I love that kind of music. I just really do.
I'd love to we should do a music stream one night. We could probably do it on a StreamYard, because it has to be in a studio where we can use the echo cancellation feature. Not all studios have that feature.
Yeah. Well, they're sure all competing and trying to throw in as much stuff as they can now, right? Maybe that'll show.
Well, just give us a kind of the music you're going to do. I'll check up the music and I'll rehearse it.
I just
that
improvise my stuff.
Yeah, just fucking improvise. Yeah, just
I like to jam, but if you're going to jam, you got to be together.
Clay, I don't know if we even discussed it on this thing, but all you guys play an instrument. I don't.
Oh, you can play the spoons, you know.
Yeah, or the salute steel. But when I worked for Xerox, I worked in Hollywood, and I got a call. The Xerox machine at A&M Records was jammed. I went in there and I spent 6 hours. It took me 2 minutes to clear what I was clearing there, and Wes Montgomery was in there taping an album. And I get to sit there live and watch, in the control booth and watch, Wes Montgomery and I also saw I think it was Santana. It was in A&M Records, I believe, at the same time I saw him. And they're, doing, recording something. So I had that was some of the fun part of being in the 60s, working for Xerox in Hollywood. And, I couldn't imagine it today. I mean, it was decadent back then. Now it's just slime. But
they're all getting their due, and it's it's fun to watch.
Pity diddy.
Yeah, I think there's still I think Calamity is she's tied in there somehow. You notice how all the people that were supposedly or have been at this point been connected to Diddy's parties they're all supporting Calamity. It's like, what's that tell you? Like, I wonder what's going on there. And then there's all the other ones that,
yeah, as close as Jay-Z and Diddy were, and now she's flashing Beyonce, you haven't seen Jay-Z since this whole thing began. He just disappeared off the map.
5 of them left the country.
Right. So I don't know, maybe bad on her part, but I probably would have picked somebody had a little further distance from Diddy, at least, and especially now.
Yeah.
You know, I might have picked maybe a B class celebrity, you know, over an A class Diddy.
What's up with the phone call from Diddy about clean up the pizza boxes, and the heck was that all about?
I haven't heard about that. What is it?
Code.
It's from it was a collect call from the prison to one of his insiders, or one, I don't know if it's a lawyer or one of his friends, that said, hey, make sure you go over and clean out, get rid of the pizza boxes, and something about plastic covers. Take care of the plastic covers. It's like, what the heck? I know there's Pizzagate and all that stuff going on that they were talking about. So I don't know. Was that a pizza party?
That was just our imagination. There was no truth to it. Hillary said so, or one of those lying rats had said so, or whatever.
The people in the big office said it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think that there's probably some more revelatory shit that's going to come out across a number of different areas: the media, the politics, the back channel shit, intel. You guys know the Internet Archive was hacked, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and some stuff came up missing.
I think we talked
deleted.
about that last time.
Yeah, some stuff got deleted.
I mean, what's going on there? Who's out there fooling around with all the bits and bytes and twiddling shit? I think there's a whole bunch of folks out there in different areas, different levels, different access, different agendas that are all basically gone into a puckered posterior orifice mode. They see what's coming. And they are going, holy shit, how do I get my ass out of this without getting caught?
I mean, the potential of what's coming is probably can be described almost biblical. I mean, the world that you and I see today, this very instant, live, will be totally transformed in one shape or the other within the next 6 months to a year.
Well, and I keep hearing, oh, these names are going to come out. These names are going to come out. Are they going to come out really? I mean, we've been waiting for the Epstein list for how many years? You know,
but
so
President Trump was instructed against it when they first got him.
Well, here's a little.
He said, I am going to release the Epstein list.
I hope he does.
No, he's
well.
That's what he said.
Here's an interesting little connect the dots. So you got Epstein stuff that's apparently out there, but are we going to see it? You had not only Epstein, but you also had, remember the DC Madam? Do you remember that back in the early 2000s? And the big deal was, holy shit, she's going to drop.
Yeah.
She's going to drop some shit, and lots of big people are going to go down. Nothing ever happened with that. Do you know what so you got Epstein, Diddy, and the DC Madam. Guess what they all have in common?
Chuck Schumer.
Merrick Garland.
Oh, wow.
Merrick Garland was the guy who ran, he was on the defense for the DC Madam, and that just never went anywhere. He was in place when Epstein took the dump, and he's in place while Diddy's taking a dump. Did he do? So the story I heard is that basically Garland has been the bag man. He's, in not the bagman, but the cleanup. You know, in John Wick.
Yeah, the
right.
They
cleaner.
call for housekeeping.
Yeah.
Cleaner.
Yeah, the cleaner.
So that apparently is what Merrick Garland has been, the role he's been filling. And I said, hey, I can see that. That kind of makes sense. Hey, Ange joined in.
Yeah, I'm just waving to people in the chat.
Yeah.
Saying hi.
Yeah, Sarah mentions seeing more on human trafficking. I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna
Elderberry and Blue Unicorn's been talking about pizza boxes and recycle the plastic, and they were talking about that whole conversation over the phone.
Hey, yeah, I just, I early voted on Monday, and it was a 2-hour wait to get into the building. And thank goodness it wasn't a hot day. But I was going through, I read every single one of the, whatever you call them, referendums or whatever. But one of the new laws that was being voted on, if you're convicted of child rape, there is no plea bargaining, and the guilty is death. And that's primarily aimed at the human traffickers. I mean, there's you get your trial, but if you're convicted of child rape there's a few other stipulations, but they're all against adults against children or child, then the penalty is death.
The craziest thing is. And it's sad too, and it just kind of shows you where we're at as a country. Is Child Protective Services here in America lose thousands of children every year, thousands upon thousands, and they are very bad offenders. So when you have people that call the cops on parents that are struggling or not necessarily taking care of their kids, it's possible you could be turning them into child traffickers.
Yeah.
Because they have, it's sad. It's very sad. And hopefully that'll all change.
Yeah, I think it will. And Wu mentions the movie The Sound of Freedom in the chat. I mean, that's the Daily Wire, and I think it's Angel Studios.
Yeah.
Are the same group that did the Am I Racist and What Is a Woman we looked at, watched earlier.
And there's more named actors and actresses aligning themselves.
Oh, they're coming out all over the place.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Oh, Tom Hanks was such a just out there in God knows what space he's floating around in.
Oh,
that surprised me. I thought, yeah, okay. And his expression,
Jimmy Stewart.
Well, his expression when Ricky Gervais called everybody out at the Emmys, you could see his face, and it's like, yeah, he's that guy's guilty.
Yeah,
he's definitely guilty. So, well, speaking of guilty, I think we're guilty of going overtime ourselves.
Yeah.
By the way,
fuckers.
For those of you that didn't get the
what was that, James? What did you say, James? I didn't hear you.
I said fuckers.
Yeah, fuckers, yeah.
Okay. I just like to hear those sweet words.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Well, you read them all the time, because that's what I tell you.
Of course.
Goddamn sick son of a bitch.
Yes, I am. So are you.
Yeah, right. I know. That's why you're my kind of guy. You're my kind of people.
Yeah. And we know what Rob's like, don't we?
Yeah.
I am what I am. And I haven't had spinach a while, but I did have sushi for the first time in almost a year. When I went to that Hart Valley, the UFO crash site, we went and hiked the entire area. It was awesome, beautiful day. and I got lots of pictures. I'll post them. And afterwards, we had sushi on the way back, and oh my God, was it good! You wouldn't think you'd get good sushi out here in the middle of nowhere, but
Yeah.
somehow I don't know how they're getting it, but they are killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get fresh seafood, then you can get good sushi.
Yeah. Yeah, I got spoiled. I spent time in Tokyo, and I went, oh my God, look at this.
Yeah.
That
And they have
is
some
the
really
shit.
nice sauces to have with it as well, which you can't buy here.
Yeah.
The curry,
Absolutely amazing.
they contain plutonium, maybe.
Well, you know, if you don't end this quick, we're going to start talking about something else. And then a half hour
Yeah.
from now, we're going to be like, hey, we should have ended this.
Like, you look tired, mate.
Gentlemen,
Well,
gentlemen,
well, we'll just end it with, we're talking about chopsticks and technology and all that shit. And I'm just going to give another shout out to Elon Musk for catching the biggest flying thing ever with a pair of chopsticks. And looking forward to the next one he does. I mean, come on. If
Yeah,
that
leaps
doesn't
and
make
bounds.
you go, I want to go do more of that, I don't know what it is.
It's got the awe factor.
I want one of his robots.
Yes.
yeah. Didn't you see iRobot
Optimus. Yeah, but that's cool.
though? Yeah.
Well, how about one
You
of
win, you win some, you lose some.
how about one of his new phones and iPads,
I
or
mean,
whatever he's calling it?
his
His
iPhone
tablet.
says $100, and its battery lasts for what's he said 2 days and 3 days, with constant talking, and allows you, depending on where you're at, to actually link in. If you're on T-Mobile, you link in into one of their
Satellite Starlink.
Yeah,
Starlinks.
Starlink.
Joe
And that-
Rogan was talking about that with Trump, that he was out in Wyoming, the middle of nowhere, and he said it was just amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, I knew it was just a matter of time, and by God, he's dropping it now. I'm thinking about just going to that myself because it's mobile.
Hmm.
You
Hey,
just
take it
throw
with
it,
you.
you throw it
You
in
got five, you
in
got
your
5
car.
bars anywhere you go.
Put it in your
Yeah.
backpack. I mean, it's as big as you can get the portable one. The portable one's as big as your laptop.
And as Sarah appropriately points out, made for geezer geeks.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Well, on that note, I think, gentlemen, we're going to call it. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thanks for enjoying and hanging out and participating and doing all that other stuff. We're going to be back next week, which will be the last Saturday before the election.
Holy shit.
We'll drop the electoral maps in, and maybe I can put it in a brain, put it in a mind map.
Yeah.
And
It's
then-
in
Yeah,
there.
hey, bring the Jack Daniels and
I sent
We'll have
the
a kindred.
image in. It's a JPEG. I sent it in Messenger to our group link.
Okay, great.
All right.
Excellent. So anyway, well, everybody have a great weekend. What's left of it? Get your boo on this week, get the boo and not the who, and scare somebody, and
Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out.
make sure you
Oh, go on. Yeah.
tap
Yeah,
that
good.
thing
Does that work for
right
me
on
too?
its third eye.
If you go down and hit
you
your
gotta
button.
hit the reactions
Oh, yeah.
down below.
Okay. Is it?
Got to do the reaction.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Okay.
Hey, that's my mother's birthday. You be nice. And I lost her, reburied her. She died on Mother's Day.
Oh,
And she was the coolest mom in the world. Pancreatic cancer at age 57. But
I like the Rockets.
yeah, so she's
The Rockets are cool.
Rockets are
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so but I had the coolest mom in the world, and everybody loved her. So
Well, on that note, we'll love each other, and we'll give it a round of applause.
Nah.
Say okay.
and say adios,
And,
AMS motherfuckers.
We'll see all you geezers next week. Have a good
That's
one.
right.
Okay. Catch
Hey,
you
you got-
later.
You guys
Geezer's out.
stay healthy. Talk at you later. Have fun.
Nice catching up with you guys.